Just do it right, all right? We're in love. We're spanning time. Look like you like me. Look like we're husband and wife, okay?
I do like you, Billy.
Okay, you know what I mean. I mean, like you like me like you're my wife, like you're in love, that kind of life.
Auteur cinema can be a very mixed style. It's easy to pour too much of yourself into filmmaking projects. Some directors are impersonal and are able to take a variety of different projects, put their own spin on it, but ultimately can move in and out of it. However, the auteur is different. These are directors who pour so much of themselves into a project they might even write, direct, and star in, that they become inseparable, at least in the public imagination, from their work. It's the kind of style that can be very easy to burn out from. This is Vincent Gallo, whose directorial debut, Buffalo 66, has endlessly fascinated critics and bloggers. Vincent Gallo grew up in Buffalo, New York. Born in 1961, he had a pretty difficult childhood with an abusive father and what he describes as a dishonest and kind of kleptomaniac mother. His parents did a ton of gambling, and Vincent was exposed to crime at a young age. He claims that he was handpicked by gangsters to become a wise guy, but was also talked out of a life of crime at age 12 by an older mafia guy who saw his promise. Instead, taking a different path, Vincent ran away from his poor Italian neighborhood at age 16. He went where everyone goes who wants to be an artist in New York, to the city. He lived in his car, had sex for money, and worked odd jobs. During this time period, Gallo began to have success as a painter, making friends with Basquiat, and also beginning to make short films. He's in the film Downtown 81, which immortalized Basquiat a decade after his death. He was cast in the film The Way It Is with Steve Buscemi and The Equalizer. He got his first starring role in 1989 with the film Doc's Kingdom, which then got him a bunch of small and supporting roles in films like Goodfellas and House of the Spirits and The Arizona Dream.
A lot of you may be wondering what Leger means. A lot of you may be wondering what kind of name it is. Is it Italian or is it Swedish? Well, actually, it's a French name, and it literally means born to act. And that's exactly what I'm going to do for you this evening.
A series of films with Claire Denis, the French director. Vincent Gallo's looks are sharp and unique and intense, and during this time period, he was also modeling for Calvin Klein. In 1998, Vincent Gallo released Buffalo 66. Although Gallo's life had been in New York City, Buffalo had left an indelible mark on him. The inferiority complex that Buffalo has to bigger cities is something they share. Gallo returned home to shoot Buffalo 66 in and around the city, including the Gowanda Correctional Facility located 40 miles south of Buffalo. Buffalo 66 has Vincent Gallo playing Billy Brown, a former inmate who gets released after 5 years in prison.
Honey, just...
Turn it away, please!
What?
What?
The knife is not pointed at you!
Yes, it pointed at me!
Honey!
Don't tell me you didn't point the knife at me!
I did not point the knife at you.
Don't point a knife at a person unless you want to
I
use
didn't
it!
point the knife at you!
Billy's parents are based on Vincent Gallo's own parents, and the film clearly has Gallo working through some of his own traumatic experiences. Angelica Houston and Ben Gazzara play Billy's parents, who show almost no reaction or interest in their son, who they haven't seen in 5 years.
I mean, he's the kindest, smartest, most handsome guy there. I mean, even the guys loved him. They idolized him. So I just couldn't. I didn't think he'd ever like me. I was just a little typist girl. And, he was like the king.
In Buffalo 66, Billy kidnaps a girl named Layla, played by Christina Ricci, and makes her pretend to be his teenage wife. This is meant to impress Billy's parents, who he is told he has a wife and a fancy government job.
Shut up. I'll take it right out of your face, all right? Shut your mouth.
Throughout the course of the day, Billy and Layla go through an intense emotional roller coaster, with Billy wanting to seek revenge on Scott Wood, the former kicker of the Buffalo Bills, whose missed kick, possibly a dive to the Mafia, loses the Super Bowl. Billy had bet $10,000 he doesn't have on the Bills to a bookie played by Mickey Rourke. Because of that, Billy had to confess to a crime he didn't commit, which landed him in prison.
They tell somebody turn up the heat. So, Billy, what happened was this bookie got so sick of hearing everybody's excuses. I mean, they're all the same, you know. Everybody's got an excuse. Anyway, this bookie got so sick that he just had to throw up. And the only way he could make himself feel better was to do bad things.
Interestingly, I think, Mickey Rourke is an actor who has a lot in common with Vincent Gallo. They're both conservative Republicans whose outspokenness and constant feuding with other celebrities eventually caught up to them and hurt their careers.
What is the word career? You know, in the end, if Mickey becomes poor, if he became washed up, it doesn't matter. He did it. Actor, boxer, poet, biker, lover. Sean Penn wishes he was Mickey Rourke.
They're also both very talented in multiple artistic and athletic fields. This infamous kick is based on a real missed field goal in the 1991 Super Bowl game between the Giants and the Bills. As an audience, we find out more and more about Billy Brown, including that he had an obsession with a girl named Wendy Balsam, who was played by Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah. Did you live on my block? Because I used to see you walk by my house every day.
I had a friend who lived over there.
Oh, yeah. It was just so strange because every time I looked out my window, I would see you walking by. This is Dawn. And what's your name again?
Layla is falling more and more in love with Billy. God knows why. I guess girls just love bad boys. And it's this love that is the crucial thing Billy needed to stay tethered to reality and to progress in life rather than just giving up that life in search of revenge. The real Christina Ricci has called Vincent Gallo a control freak and the filming of Buffalo 66 traumatic and abusive. She vowed never to work with him again, and he also had a tough relationship with Angelica Houston. Gallo's response has been that he did all the work, made the creative choices down to making her sweater and doing her hair, and Christina Ricci was just his doll. Buffalo 66 has been hailed as a great exemplar of indie filmmaking at a time when indie filmmaking was at the new cultural zenith. Vincent Gallo has been compared to Harmony Korine, whose film Kids debuted in 1995. They're both intensely controversial writer-directors. However, Vincent Gallo's career kind of stalled out after his next two films did not have the cultural success of Buffalo 66. And that's where we get back to auteur burnout, which each film and the press and media rollout being these huge, legendarily controversial press runs.
For me, it went from 0 stars to 3 stars. So I told Gallo he has redeemed his film, and he tells me why he lashed out about what I said.
To make the worst film in the world, or the worst film in con history, you would have to go in with bad intention. Let's put Paris Hilton in Rocky VII and hire Joe Schmo to write it, and just, you know, that's the worst film in the world.
Not to mention Vincent Gallo's penchant for making far more enemies than friends. It's easy to see why Gallo's directorial career has been short-lived.
How much are the hard cookies?
Hard cookies? I think 95 cents.
95?
Right.
Okay. You got a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. I'm going to buy one for him.
Okay.
It's for your girlfriend, all right? Girlfriend, don't chomp on it yourself. Save it for her.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, and which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends is a new split LP with Lung Adult Prom, available now on Bandcamp, and it's Bandcamp Friday. Pause the stream and get Adult Prom now. Jay Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Renee Rune is the host of the Night Shift podcast with Bonnie Burton and Jenna Hayes, hosts Rune Radio, and is a blogger, writer, poet, and the head of Rune Agency. I, of course, am an ex-con who just got out of a prison in upstate New York for the crime of believing in my hometown too much. Forrest Miller. You better all make me look good.
I believe too much.
And I just want to get this off the bat. You are muted, Forrest.
His only crime is that he believed in his hometown too much. It really is true.
It really
the only
is true.
crime he had is he believed in the Buffalo Bills, and then they didn't even let him say the name Buffalo Bills in the movie. He had to say either Buffalo or the Bills. They gave him a choice.
I remember that run they had in the early 90s. My dad was a big football fan, and there was a joke going around at the time, which was, what does the Bills stand for? Boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
There you go. There you go.
It's pretty good.
All right.
I don't often laugh at football jokes. I don't know anything about football.
Yeah,
but
no. Yeah, they lost a bunch, and it's kind of nice that this movie kind of brings up one of them.
I like a little deep.
The field goal is like this. Like I was watching videos of it. It's like this unprecedented moment where he was up for the kick and then he missed it at the last minute, and it's like this huge. Like anyone that was betting on the Bills in that situation, like right, like they're cheering up to that last second and then missing that field goal. They just lost.
I actually watched that live back in the day, and I was pointing at the screen like Leonardo DiCaprio whenever that scene came on.
A favorite moment in this is that when he calls dude's strip club, like he has an upfront message about it, which is like mentions like, I know you all hate me from The Thing, but you should come down and see the naked ladies.
It's a very Uncle Alligator.
Which brings me into like a question, which is how much of this is going in and out of like Vincent Gallo's mind, right? Like his character, like how, like, because when he hears that, it's like the one thing that's going to trigger him more than anything. Trigger warning. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah.
Renee, welcome to the show. We're assuming you were riding a rocket-powered kangaroo.
I was.
Because you made good time.
I did like zoom to the park and then flew out.
Exactly.
Traffic comes from everybody else also riding rocket-powered kangaroos. Like that's the only way to get around. So it's like, God, I got this so that I could be faster in the air, and now everyone has one. This is too much.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, it's like traffic's so bad in this country, it's actually overflowed into Australia, affecting Renee's travels today.
Oh my goodness, I drove in. It was super quick and easy. Driving out, not so much.
So I found this and I really wanted to play it. It's from an interview that Vincent Gallo did during the press run for this, and I just feel like every single like interview he does that isn't him just like freaking out at people, it sounds like it reminds me of like
He's probably one of my
every interview.
Listen, kid, you're gonna want some of this sperm, all right? You're gonna want it. It's top quality stuff. Top quality alligator liberty.
Alligator juice.
That's right, kid. I got the juice.
Gallo juice.
Gallo 8.
Mark the time. 14 minutes, 16 seconds.
So this is
wow, it did it.
I feel like every story that Vincent Gallo tells about his childhood, right? He phrases it in a way that sounds almost like indie theater from like the 90s, or like it's
sure.
like the same cadence that like a lot of those Sopranos episodes have, where they're like in like a dream sequence. I don't know why. Maybe just everybody was giving interviews like that, but this is a 5-minute clip of him talking about his family and his parents, and I thought this was funny. In a Gallows humor kind of way, anyway.
Gallows humor.
Yeah.
At the time, and my brother was 6 years old, and my sister was 4 years old.
and we were sitting in the living room on a couch together watching TV. And my mother was vacuuming the carpet. And she found something under the couch, some chocolate, and probably why I used chocolate in the movie. And as a kid, I hated chocolate. I never ate chocolate. I wasn't allergic to it. I just didn't like it. And she found chocolate under the couch, and it was stuck to the brand new carpeting. And my family was very poor, so this was a big thing that we had carpeting in this room, and we were all sitting in the room trying not to make any dirt or anything. And she found this chocolate, and she was very upset by it. So she started to complain and scream, and who did this? And you ruined the carpet. And she moved the couch back, and she started cleaning up, and she started screaming. And my father came in the room, very aggressive, and he took the three of us and he said, all right, who put the chocolate under the couch? Which one of you put the chocolate under the couch? And my brother said, I didn't do it. And my sister said, I didn't do it. And he looked at me and he said, you little son of a bitch, I know it was you. I know it was you. You did it. And I said, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And I don't even eat chocolate. I don't like chocolate. Everybody knows I don't like chocolate. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And he said, don't tell me, because you're an evil bastard. I know you did it. And I said, I didn't do it. What about them? Why are you picking on me? You know? And so he started hitting me, started beating me around the house, and slapping me, and he wanted me to admit that I had done this thing. But I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And I was not going to admit to doing it if I didn't do it. I was not going to admit to it. So he tried to hit me really hard several times so that I would break and admit that I did it. And I would not. He'd hit me hard and I'd say, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So he put me in the car, and it was evening time. It was dark. It was late. And when you're 5 years old, you know, nighttime is very scary. And he drove me to the emergency room entrance of a hospital in Buffalo, but a hospital known for psychiatric patients, very similar to Bellevue Hospital. They had a psychiatric ward. And he told me that if I didn't admit that I put the chocolate there, that he was going to take me to this psychiatric ward because I was an evil devil, and I needed to go live in a hospital, and I would not be allowed to come home ever again. I'd have to go live with crazy people. So I was sitting in the car. I was very nervous, but I didn't do it. Do you understand? I didn't do it. I didn't put the fucking chocolate under the couch. So I said, I didn't do it. And we pulled up to the entrance of the emergency room, and he told me one last time, okay? And I saw all the ambulances there, and you know, those things, they're scary when you're young. It's just bad. You know, I just, the hospital, the only memory I had of the hospital was my grandparents dying and bad things. So I was very scared, very scared. And he told me, all right, listen, I'm going to give you one more chance, you little son of a bitch. I'm going to give you one more chance to admit that you did it, or I'm going to take you in that hospital and I'm going to leave you there. And I said, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I swear it wasn't me. And he came around and he dragged me by my ear out of the car, and he started taking me to the emergency room entrance, to the door. And just before we got to the door, I said, okay, I did it. It was me. I did it. And I think that he knew at that point that I didn't do it. I think he knew by my confession that I didn't do it, that it finally hit his mind that I really didn't do it. But it was too late. You understand? It was too late. He had gone so far that it was too late. And it was just a bad thing. It was just bad. I had to admit, it just was bad. And ever since then, all somebody has to do is accuse me of something. Anytime somebody would be missing their wallet in class or in a bar,
I desperately wanted them to find it because I thought everybody would think it was me. But this moment was just really ugly. It was just bad, you know.
There is so much to unpack there.
Yeah. He's so incredibly dramatic, and you can't like he's one of my favorite people to watch interviews of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you never quite know how it's going to land.
Yeah, and you don't know, like, and also some of his interviews I feel like are complete fiction. Like he's just making it up on the spot. Like there's nothing true is coming out of his mouth.
There was one where he was telling a story about how he like whipped his dick out as a teenager and he got arrested for sex crimes. And his dad ran into the room and was like, "What did you do?" There was like cops at his door. He told this whole story like, you put this on, you want this on video? Like, I mean, it's got to be like 25 years before Me Too happens, but still, like, it's not something that you might like want to, because he ended up not getting the charges, but then he put the thing on the, like on video to be like, look, I'm a sex criminal. What can I say?
And that's where this is difficult, because I really love Buffalo 66. I think it's a fantastic movie. I actually upped my rating on this rewatch because, like, wow, it's actually better than I remember. But it's a hard watch in the way that it, like some Cassavetes stuff is, like Husbands or something.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, these freaking guys are the worst. They're terrible. And well, I'm sure we'll get into it at some point. But like, I think that it's really hard not to talk about Buffalo 66 without talking about Vincent Gallo, the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Who, let's just charitably say, I have less time for. Also, I think The Brown Bunny is maybe one of the worst movies ever made. But, like, just as a guy, like, his whole thing is just exhaustingly baffling, is the best way I could put it.
Really, he wanted a couple $1 million blowjob. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted to know what that felt like.
And he got it.
Yeah, he did. And this is the thing. I think I mentioned this to you guys. Like, it is so hard to explain the fascination and the female gaze towards Vincent Gallo. I have not got one single, not necessarily single, but I don't have one friend who's female who does not find Vincent Gallo attractive, or is, and it's so hard to explain because he has all these things that are wrong with him, but he has all these things like it's like he's so attractive. He's like, his dress sense is immaculate. Like, and the broodiness, I don't know. It's so, I shouldn't like him, right? I just shouldn't, but can't stop.
It's like Mick Jagger, like in his prime,
Yeah.
You talking about Free Jack?
Yes. No.
And it is. There's so much about
Free
him
Jack is his prime.
that is
there's just it's really ballsy to make like a I Could Fix Him movie about yourself. Like he puts himself in the center of this movie, and he's like the ultimate like I could fix him though character, right? Like both him as a person and his character in the movie. But but then you remember he's writing, directing, producing, and acting in this himself. Like he's making he's like I could fix me. Like
yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that we're following this after doing Real Life with Albert Brooks, where the Albert Brooks in that movie is a super stylized, not accurate version of who Albert Brooks is. He's like this villainous character, basically. And I didn't even think about the fact of those two being together, where it's like, I get the feeling that like, no, Vincent Gallo probably is more like that, just without the redemptive arc at the end. But it makes for a great movie. And that's why a lot of people are conflicted about it. Cause you're like, well, I kind of think this guy sucks. It's like, well, sure. But like, it's a very incredibly well shot movie. It's actually pretty well scripted. The whole thing, you have to suspend the disbelief of like it being sort of dreamlike of like, why doesn't she just leave? Why doesn't she just like run away? Like, why is she wanting? But then that goes back to what Renee was saying. That's why I'm so glad that Renee is on to talk about that, because I think it's probably harder to understand for straight dudes as to why like you would stick around someone like that.
A three like heterosexual cis male panel on this movie
wouldn't work.
Be rough.
I would refuse to do it because I'm like, I'm not looking for it.
And that's and that is the thing. Like throughout this film, like, I've dropped it a few times this week, just that we're doing this podcast, and every person I've mentioned what film we're doing has said, "Love that movie, love that movie." Like, I haven't had one person say, "Oh, that's a shit movie, I don't like it," or whatever. And then everyone remembers Vincent Gallo, whether you like him or not, whatever it is about him. Everyone knows him, everyone remembers him. Like, he's just got that thing about him. And
he's not forgettable, that's for sure.
I had one person on Facebook hating on this movie, but you could tell, like, I could tell it was tinged with Vincent Gallo as a person, as like a
Which is that's pretty much by default how we consume culture now, right? Like art and artists are one and the same. I don't agree with that, but that is what culturally the mob has decided. And
but like the character in this movie too is like really relatable. Like I mean, you grew up in the upstate New York of California. You know.
Yeah, I'm in it right now, actually. Yeah.
I spent a few years in upstate New York. I was outside of Syracuse, but you know, like there's a certain thing about that kind of area, and there's tons of guys just like that. They might not look as good. Like you know, I love like Vincent Gallo is one of those people like the way light like strikes his face, and especially whenever he's lit. Like even in that interview, I'm just like, God, I gotta draw this. This is fascinating. Like look at that.
It's very angular, and I wonder if there's something to do with human psychology and the angularness of his features, right? Like, because there's something appealing about
power nose. Girls love a weird big power nose. Like all the really unique looking actors.
Wait till you see the maestro.
Like they you know, and then like obviously the chin, and then give him that hair and put on those red cowboy boots. I'm yours. Even though you suck, don't talk. You know what I mean? Like,
even though like the first 50 minutes of this is him looking for a place to piss unsuccessfully, which is actually kind of amazing. I forgot how like long it goes and like how amazing it is that like it's like no, just everywhere he goes. Like, and it's like it's interesting because that is a thing. And it's like I can't think of any other film I've seen that and I'm like, oh yeah, like every place is just like closed him. This place they won't let him.
The scene where he goes, "I need to piss," when he's with Christina Ricci, when he's with Layla, and then he goes and he's like, I've got to go, and then he's like, woo, you know, like really happy about the fact that he got to pee, and then he's finally like, I have to apologize, you know.
Yeah, sorry, I kidnapped you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, sorry,
I really needed to pee.
Yeah, I really had to pee. No, but there's something about and I know that Vincent Gallo had like escaped to New York City, right? Like he had like that's where he was based. And there's something about New York City that really fucking does that to you. Because like I don't know how much you guys have
every time I go to New York City, I have to pee.
Well, just
I have to pee just hearing about it.
Well, no, but I mean, you know, I have my I had to pee in that subway going the whole time. But there's
that's
something
right.
About
I forgot about that.
Getting to the city on a bus or like you know, like on the train or something, and then you get to the station and you don't think about like, oh, I really have to use the bathroom, and you start walking in the city. And if you're wandering, because like I've gone to the city awaiting like job interview type things, right? Like situations where like you kind of have to just wander around while you're waiting to go somewhere. Like whether it was like the time, which I get to bring this up the second episode in a row when I went to like meet Michael or whatever, and I had to walk around the city for the entire day and like waiting to go to the Majority Report studio or whatever. Like I get in every time like a couple hours early. So if you have to pee at some point, which you know inevitably you always do in the city, it's so hard to find a bathroom. Nobody wants to let you into their bathroom.
Yeah.
You have to go find a McDonald's. A lot of times it's like a McDonald's that lets you do it on like the second floor or something, but a lot of times they're closed. Like, so there really is like this feeling of
it's
like,
an actual thing. Yeah.
And it's not like the back in the 80s whenever you could just pee wherever you wanted and it didn't matter, nobody noticed. Everything smelled like urine anyways.
I still do that.
But I also love that he happens to stop behind the one car where the person's pulling out,
and she's going to, and he's like, oh god, like, and it's so like, and you're like, oh my god, it's like Bo was afraid level of like stress of like, oh my god, can he just pee somewhere, please? Yeah. And like, I'm not gonna say it justifies the hostage taking or anything, but like. But it is like
the guy's looking at his dick. He gets in the one stall where the guy's looking down at his dick and he's like, "You have such a big dick," and then he's like, "Now I can't pee." Which I don't know. I get stage fright sometimes.
And again, that's like
to people that are
the fascination, like the fascination by Vincent Gallo of his own dick, and fascination by other people of his dick.
Right.
And like that point illustrates it. The fact that he's like, I need to put this scene in where someone's gawking at my dick and says it's big. Like, that's not necessary in the film at all. But
well, maybe it is because I mean
it
psychologically,
shows-
then you know why Christina Ricci is instantly like, I'm gonna keep following this guy. He looks like he has a big dick.
Well, she's but she's
came out yelling about it.
but she's like a chapter and verse I can fix him kind of girl. You
and
know,
also,
like
I think though also he's like he's you know, if you saw that he's an illustration of this.
There's too many people around.
Like really, you know, Adonis type dude, right? First thing any woman's gonna do is be like, "What up?" And then she, you know, he tries to like take her, but he's not scary at all. And the whole time he's a bumbling.
I'm telling you, he's gonna bite her ear off or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
but
Tyson.
it's not convincing in any way. He's talking like he's like a child in a playground.
He's hurt.
Like,
Yeah.
He's not really gonna. You don't get the sense of like fear and about him, you know. Like there's that, and then once she gets in the car and he starts, which I love this scene because I drive, you know, a non-stick car,
And I love how like he doesn't use a contraction. I cannot drive a shifter car. Is what he says, and it's like amazing because the fact that he doesn't use a contraction there like does so much work.
Yes. And then he goes, and where he says, "I drive luxury cars." Like, luxury cars.
I drive luxury.
And-
That his delivery in that reminds me of Quentin Tarantino. Whenever Tarantino gives an interview and he's like, "Guess what I do? I drive luxury cars." Okay. Like,
By the way, I have some breaking news. Matt Cushman is back on Twitter after his medical emergency. So
yeah, he had a stroke. He wrote that he had a stroke. Yeah.
No, I just you know, happy to see that you know, he's doing better. He hasn't come on the show yet, but you know, one day at a time.
He came on Ben's show and you didn't ask him, and I was like, you should ask him.
I never had a chance.
It was literally 2 days before his stroke, though, so he would have had to cancel.
Would have worked out anyways.
But no, so that whole sequence is very relatable to me as someone that frequently has to be, and there's something very
I drove luxury cars my whole life, guys. So in Australia, like there is plenty of manual cars, but there's a lot like of luxury cars where I grew up because that's just, you want to get in the car and you want to drive fast. You don't want to fuck around with all this shit, you know. But like that scene, you see his weakness immediately, and you see that he's kind of a bumbling fool, and that he's not really harmful in any way. And then when he finally gets to piss, and he starts like, "Oh, I've got to apologize. Like I've been busting." What kidnapper does that?
Yeah, apologizes to the victim. Yeah, the kidnapping.
Yeah, for taking a piss and
ever get kidnapped in Canada?
You know, I need you to do a favor for me.
Yeah.
Like he even asks her, "I need you to do a favor for me." Why did he just force her? You know what I mean? Like,
he also his threat, right? First he says, "Oh, if you don't do this right, I'll kill you," and then he says, "If you don't do this right, I'll never be your friend again. I'll never talk to you again."
Exactly.
Right, like what?
That's the playground thing again. And he's like, you know, in front of mommy and daddy, and then you know, but if you do it and you do it good, we'll be friends for life.
Well, like, you can be my best friend, the best friend I've ever had. Yeah. Which is amazing.
At that
it
point,
works in this movie, but it's like normal people, if you kidnap them and you're like, you could be the best friend I ever had. Like the first thought going through my head is like, I don't know if I want that. Like, what does that entail? Like, you're gonna call me every day and ask and be like, hey, you want to hang out? Like, you just kidnapped me. Like, it's gonna take a while.
No, but it's done in a convincing way, right? It's done in a way that like there's a rhythm to it. It's sort of like it's not like as abrupt. Like it manages to work in a way that it would be placed somewhere else. Like maybe that would seem less convincing, but there is something, and I was watching for it because it's like the third time that I've seen it. Just vibing along with this before, and that like it does. It's like no, it absolutely somehow makes sense. It shouldn't make sense,
but it does.
But it does.
It's such aesthetically beautiful.
Like a female, like I guess female mind, like he's showing his vulnerability, and if anything, the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm watching it is this guy's just lonely.
Yeah.
And then you find out more, and you're like, oh, he's just sad, and no one's ever, no one's loved him, and all these things, and you're like, oh, it's like a puppy.
Don't arrest him. He was just sad.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like a poor little puppy at a pet store that no one wants to buy. So you go and buy. This is I think one of the trappings of why a lot of women struggle with this film, because they just want to grab him and fix him and give him a hug and like.
And then also have your panties drop.
Well, but also one of the things I think is that too, but also one of the things that's really like, I think to me, like when people go on huge things about, the misogyny or, all this kind of incel behavior, like, yes, there is tinges of that 100%, but I also feel like some of it's like, misdirected. And he's, in the sense that like, if this was someone who's very, very misogynistic, like, we got to remember throughout this film, Christina Ricci's never naked. There's no sexual anything in this film.
He doesn't even want her to touch him.
Yeah, exactly. And
like
so
she kisses his head, and he's like, "We're the couple that doesn't touch. We're spending time. We're not touching. We're not."
Which is very funny.
It's so funny. I love that.
It's funny, but it's also there's something about being in prison where a lot of stuff like rape and sexual assault and all that stuff happens, where prisoners come out of there completely traumatized. You don't get the feeling that you get the feeling that he's someone who has established that he can say scary shit. He can bluster his way through things and like grab somebody, but he doesn't really, he's not like, he's someone that probably those 5 years in prison wasn't exactly kind to when he came in there anyway, because you could see him in that stupid little Buffalo Bills hat when he's talking to Mickey Rourke. Like he does look like a little kid, and the angle he gives himself is like a little kid's angle. In the full 5 years.
Youthful like innocence that it's almost like his mind is trapped back when he was a boy, and I feel like, and it's also like he has this intense fear and developed emotions. So it's like he doesn't, he's had these things happen to him. Like, I mean, his parents are fucking jerks, and just seeing how they treat him as an adult, you can imagine what he was treated like as a child. And then
well, you don't have to imagine. You see him; his dad killed a dog.
He doesn't have that intimacy. And I feel like that's, there's a lot of mental health factors here that, clearly.
There's so much to unpack with Ben Gazzara's performance on here too. By the way, like it's sort of like, you can have like a movie about him.
Well, I mean, when I rewatched this last night, and I've probably seen this movie 15 times in my lifetime. Like I've seen it a lot of times, right? And like, even watching it again last night after I haven't watched it in quite a long time, the father, there were scenes with the father that I just felt dirty. Like the scene when all the scenes interacting with Christina Ricci are really fucking not cool.
Yeah.
He's got like this creeper vibe. And that's the thing. Like you
feel like she's in danger, and you don't necessarily feel like she's in danger with
you
Vincent.
don't. You automatically you're looking at these two fucked up characters. It's almost like Fight Club, right? You've got these two fucked up characters, and you kind of want them to fall in love together. It's that Sid and Nancy thing. They're like two people that are like, the destined shitness together. And that's
it's like autistic Sid and Nancy.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like, they've both got, emotional problems going on there. And I mean,
his socializing is not great. Like that's all I'm saying with the
definitely not. I mean, who would be like, don't, so like you've got Christina Ricci next to you who, at this point in time was in her like 90s Gen X, just fantastic period. Just fantastic. And I feel terrible for her. I feel terrible for her that this film, she got the worst media attention she ever got from this film. She was called fat, ugly, all sorts of things when she did this film. And
she's
I think
so pretty in it though.
Yeah, she's like all-timer.
And her performance I felt kind of too.
I felt kind of
everybody all at once, quickly. Everybody talk all at once.
But like, there's that sense of like, she is incredible looking in this film and incredible at acting in this film.
Yeah.
And it's such a disappointment that she was treated so crap by the media, but, because of this role. And when I rewatched it last night, it reminded me that not long after this film was when she actually went and got a boob job and a whole bunch of stuff done. Which
she did that topless scene in that one movie, which I remember Entertainment Weekly, the artist painted a little beer gut on her.
Mm. Yeah, it was horrendous. But she's actually stunning in this film, and I don't know anyone that isn't in love with her in this film. So I mean, it's a testament to indie films, isn't it?
And look at the tap dancing sequence in like the bowling alley, right? Which is like one of the best uses of a King Crimson song ever, by the way. It's astounding. It's great, and it doesn't make any sense while it's there in a David Lynchian sort of way, but it makes all the sense why it's there.
Yeah, it's the only scene where she actually kind of shows a little bit of her own agency of like, you know, who she is, and it doesn't. There's nothing there. Like it's great because you can just put whatever you want into it.
She does
because
like hot chocolate.
That's about it. But like on paper, there's very little, depth to her character, and yet like her performance, and especially that scene,
it's all in the vibe. It's all in the performance. I agree. It's notably great.
I think adding though like a backstory for her would have ruined the fantasy, right? Like it's the story of him finding like the perfect woman who just kind of exists as a blank slate to complete their relationship, because he's someone who's never had love before, and you never know anything about, like, it seems like she's the woman from nowhere, just as Vincent Gallo seems like the man from nowhere.
I don't actually agree that she's a blank slate, and I think it's more interesting that we don't know. But I think that there's probably a very interesting backstory that we're just not privy to, like how in life that happens as well. You know, it just happens to be that he stumbled upon maybe the perfect person to basically abduct.
Well, I'm not saying that she's a blank slate. I'm just saying we don't know anything. We never find out anything about her, right? Like we never find out why she drove herself to dance class, so I guess she's old enough to at least be an adult. But it's not like she's never like, oh, I have to get home from my parents, or like I have a boyfriend that I'm leaving to. Like it just doesn't seem like, it seems in the same way that he's like kind of a lonely person kind of drifting through time, spanning time. She's the same kind of like lonely person, because we never
you do get a sense of loneliness with her, I feel like, as well. But I also feel like one of the things, when people go on rants about misogyny in this film, is I think they actually they underestimate Layla.
Yes, I agree.
They write her off as this completely innocent, like airhead, dumb kind of character, and I don't think she is that at all. Like this, she's very sassy. And she's got a smart mouth, and she isn't afraid to bite back. Like if you're with a kidnapper and they're telling you something, you don't go up against them. You just don't, So
if I may, first of all, I think the fact that she being fundamentally mysterious is very key to the plot, but being a tabula rasa is not accurate. Again, like, I think it's more misogynistic to assume that, oh, she's just this blank slate pretty girl. I'm like, we don't know anything about her. She could be a serial killer for all we know. Like it's not said either way, and it's not immediately relevant to his story, because like he's got his own things going on, and he's a screwed up emotional individual just trying to like deal with the situation he's in. But I actually think it's a better film because of that. It could have been just like, oh, well, this is just this pretty girl who's in a tap dance class. Sure.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
But she's also like, you see her immediately.
She could have left at any time. There's so many times she could have just walked away.
She could have walked away, or like, screamed, yelled, hit, many things. But instead, she's, like, there is a weird charisma between the two of them. There's something that's bouncing off each of them. And even when she, there's moments where she said, where she says, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry, like, about this happening to you and that happened to you. And like, why? Who cares? This guy kidnapped you. In a real situation, you'd be like, get fucked, dude. I don't care. Like, let me go. But, there isn't that. There's some kind of something that is interesting to both characters, I think, about each other.
Well, and that I think that comes across, and I think that anyone that's approaching the movie in good faith and hasn't already made a decision based on maybe what they read on the internet can appreciate that. That, like, I'm not saying you have to be 100% bought into it. I'm just saying that for me, it absolutely works, and I expected maybe I would have a totally different reaction coming at it as like grown ass man. And I didn't. I was like, actually, this is more like pointy and beautiful and screwed up, And
the first time we see her is in the dance suit. She's crying in the bathroom. Like, there's emotional depth to the fact that she's clearly someone that's not fitting in her dance class for whatever reason, or is being like pressured throughout that situation. And it also feels like she's almost leaving whatever life she had. Right? She's willing to commit because you see the sadness inherent in stuff when she's in that bathroom scene. So
it's maybe it's rock bottom for her too, for a different reason entirely.
Yeah. Well, it feels like she just goes all in. Like the second he's like, "All right, well, I need you to do me this favor. I need you to be this character," and she like is coming up, and she's maybe not the best at like coming up with the character. Like the CIA thing is like, all right, like I don't know if that's the best. But
I think that's reflected in that scene where she's at the table and she's telling the parents she's pregnant. That's not necessary. She's just layering all this stuff on. She's enjoying herself.
Yeah, there's a level of boredom to it too. I feel like on her side, right? Like a level of like I'm trying to make this stuff interesting. Like it's like she's committed to having a backstory to the point where she's like, well, let's see. Like I want to get some reaction from the parents. Like the thing that he clearly wants is a reaction from his parents. He's like struggling to get a reaction from his parents, and her like Hail Mary pass moment is to say like I'm pregnant, and then that gets like that's how far she has to go to get a reaction from them, because they're people that are so dulled out and so unloving and so uncaring at that point that like she sees that the only way to do it is to like drop the atomic bomb pretty much on the family.
Right.
Yeah, well, she immerses herself in that fantasy though. She really immerses herself in the fantasy, which is something that most people wouldn't do. It's like she's already bought into him as a human. Like she's already accepted him with all of this awkwardness, and she's, that says a lot about her character too, that she immediately kind of leans into this guy and to what's happening, whereas most people would reject and obviously be trying to get away, but she's not in a hurry to get away.
Right.
Like she's actually, you can see that she's not. And then as it progresses, the scene where he says about, going with him, and like, he's like, I'm not going to lay down with you. And she's like, oh, that's too, I was serious type thing. And you're like, at some point she clicks over into, I want to go to the, I like this dude or whatever. I want to go to the brain zone. There's a moment.
And also she uncovers that he's kind of this.
That was a deleted scene, actually. She said that.
She uncovers that he's kind of this like virgin kind of figure that's like, has been so awkward and so rejected by despite putting on like this brave face where he's like, I could have had any girl I wanted. Like he admits at one point like, oh, no girls wanted to talk to me, and I was like stalking this one girl, and the one girl does suck. And literally I can't like see that scene without thinking about Rosanna Arquette's like After Hours speech that she gives in the diner.
Yes.
About So like in my head,
Surrender, Dorothy.
Yeah, in my head, that guy Don is the surrender, because he's so bland and like boring. In my head, he's the guy that said surrender, Dorothy. But he's like, oh, he's gonna make Dorothy surrender so hard when he gets home tonight. Like,
and like Wendy Balsam sucks. Like she sucks. She's so
she's like dry humping the guy in the actual diner. Like, while everyone, like,
100%.
Yeah,
and I think. And like, that's the bit, where people talk about, him being, the character maybe is an incel. And I think that he's not necessarily, it's not direct incel behavior. I don't think there's actually malice there. It's it's
he's unloved. He's never.
Yeah, he's emotionally.
He's stunted. He's like he hasn't
stunted. Yes.
He's stunted. He hasn't had any experience with love to start with, whether that be just on a base level or or relationships.
Not from his parents.
Yeah, no, and then you put like, so he's made this fantasy world where he's got this Wendy Balsam, but like, and then you've got this other, we're seeing the side of him. Don't touch me, don't do this. It's like he's obviously got issues around these things. So even if he got the Wendy Balsam, he would have been an awkward dude anyway. Like you kind of get that feeling, and I feel that like, you look at his mother, and definitely there's that mother issues going on massively. If your mother treats you that way, and that's the experience you've had your whole life, and then the next person is that terrible Wendy Balsam, the small experiences he's had have been dreadful, and that childlike nature has informed his attitude and towards women. And then there's that innocence, like invisibility that he's got. So I'm I hate to say it, because again, it's very, very like opposing and contradictory, because it's like, hang on a minute, I should hate this guy, but I'm actually making excuses for this poor dude. Like I said, I just want to fix him. I want to like put him in bed. give him some hair rubs, like, and him in the bath. Like, I'm just like, oh, look at him, he's so attractive and he's sad and he's lonely and he doesn't know. Oh, poor him. Just want to just give it to me, right?
Well, and it also makes the fact that like his $10,000 bet on the Buffalo Bills, right? Like it wouldn't make sense until you've seen the mother and you realize like the only way to get through to somebody like that is to place like the $10,000 bet on the Bills, and then to be like the one thing she cares about is obviously watching the game, and he's putting money he doesn't even have on it to be like, look, Mom, I can bet, I won all this money. Like it's clearly his version of the like I'm pregnant thing.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. So what I was going to attempt to just break in on for this is to actually bring that up, but to bring up the point of the earlier one is that, okay, so Wendy is this sort of like cruel catty, like she knows all about him. Obviously, she's just being cruel to him, but his mom villainously inattentive, except for the football. Like that's the one thing she pays attention to. So that is obviously the entire motivating factor of it is like, oh, it's not just like, oh, if I win the money, it's like if I win the money with the Buffalo Bills winning, then that would maybe get my mom to pay attention in some way that would be positive. Yeah, which is
my mom might win my mom.
Like look when it goes to the scenario where you have the gamed out worst possible ending, right? You see Ben Gazzara and you see what's her nuts? I can't remember the actress' name, and they're on his grave, and she's like Angelica Houston, thank you, and they're on his grave, and she's trying to listen to the game on his grave, and it's sort of like, oh, because that's who that is. That's literally all she cares about, and it's the only way he'd ever get attention.
And I love that detail that she's watching a pre-recorded game and still having that emotional outlet, like because you don't realize
because you see her like fast forward the commercials. You're like, what?
Like, what? This is 1998. They didn't have like TiVo or something like that.
Yeah.
You didn't like pause it. Now it's catching up to real time. This ain't how it works.
Like she's ignoring her son. She's ignoring the situation emotionally that she's in to watch a pre-recorded game that she's reacting as if it's happening in real time.
And then of course you see the field goal too. Like you have that
knowing what's going to happen,
and then having that reaction, and then having that flashback, and it's the exact same field goal that happened. That they were the $10,000 bet.
I find it interesting that his own commentary on like the parent character is he was like, well, I'd reached a point with my own parents at this point where I thought they were. Like, despite the abuse and everything, like, I thought they were funnier than they were toxic and, like, dark. But he was like, if I had written the script, like, 10 years before or something, right? Like, if I had written this when I was going through it with my parents and when I wasn't living around, like, living as a gigolo in New York City, gigolo / patriot in New York City, like, having my own life. If I had written it earlier, it would have been a much darker script. Because at that point, he was like, well, there's something inherently charming and funny about my parents being so comically, which it's crazy. He has that introspection on his own writing process or whatever. Like his parents being so comically over the top and like, inattentive. I could see why, before he had at least, hit that point in his head or like grappled with that, it would have been a much darker situation when he finally got home.
Well, I mean, I think that like it works so well because like again, his mom only cares about Buffalo Bills. His dad only seems to care about when it's time to eat and perving on Christina Ricci and nothing else. I mean,
like fills her up and then goes back to normal again. And
and then it's like whatever. Okay,
he's such a creeper.
And that's such a like kind of like in that way, Ben Gazzara feels like such a David Lynch character. In that way, where there's just this like very matter of fact perviness, and then like and back to normal. And you're like, what just happened? Are you kidding me? It's like something out of Blue Velvet or something.
It's an Italian thing.
I know. Forrest, can you speak for that?
It's like our esteemed Governor Cuomo said.
Sometimes you got to motorboat him.
He's not perverted. He's just Italian.
Who can forget when he said that? Yes.
Yeah. Well, so this is. I wanted to.
He was me too'd.
Well, no, that was his excuse. He was getting me too'd, and he was on doing a press conference.
That's literally the joke. Yes, I understand. I remember.
It was the best Me Too excuse ever. It's just like, I'm Italian. What do you want? With the male friends, right? It's come up a couple times in the chat with Goon. This is
Goon. Please call him Rocky, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Rocky.
Don't dead name.
He's transitioned now.
With his male friends, like there's a very clear distinction. Like, you know, you can tell that he's kind of taken Goon, for example, this kind of fuck up like guy. But even though he's quite, you know, he's clearly doesn't have the social skills. You get the feeling that they've known each other for a long time, and that
they're like high school mates.
And the first person he calls is always Goon, right? So they're clearly fuck ups together, and that's his, like, you see that there's sort of an affectionate like relationship going on there.
Well, they're playing. When he makes the bet, he and Goon are the ones watching the game.
Yeah, and when he's saying like don't do bad things, and he's trying to convince him, and then you have that a totally contradictory experience where when he's outside of his personal space, like so in the bowling alley, he's Mr. Slick. You know, he's like
he will always be good.
You know, he's being Mr. Slick at the bowling alley with, you know, his outside appearance is like, hey, I'm slick and cool. And he's like chatting to the guy. And even when he says like, you know, I picked her up hitchhiking, you know. And
Jan Michael Vincent, by the way. That's Jan Michael Vincent, just as an aside. It's easy to forget about. I'm like, it's like, why does that guy look familiar? It's like, oh, yeah.
But I actually love Goon. So I actually love his character. And I love the interactions between him as well.
Yeah, so this is a clip from.
By the way, that's if you ever want to know what happened after Airwolf, he's running a bowling alley now. So
this is Kevin.
What? No, not even Andy on that one.
Yeah, no, I was just like, wait, that's like, my brain's breaking over here because I didn't quite put two and two together.
Yeah, Jan Michael Vincent was in Airwolf. That's what makes that funny.
Yeah, it's Stringfellow Hawk.
All right, go ahead. That did not land. Go ahead. Shout out Jan Michael Vincent.
I mean, it's, you know, here on the East Coast, it's 11:30 on a Friday. You know,
all right.
It's the end of the week. Everyone's got turkey brain. No, so this is
look. All I got to say about Thanksgiving is there's always room for Airwolf and Airbud.
Airwolf is Airbud's stronger cousin. Airbud's called it Airwolf.
Once we were Airwolves.
So this is Kevin Corrigan talking about how he was drunk and in need of affirmation when he took the part of Conan.
Actually, we met in like I was telling you before. We have a mutual friend who was in the hospital around 1993, and we met in her room, and then about 3 or 4 years later, we met at the Sundance Festival, and and he saw something I was in at that time. It might have been Walking and Talking, and he said, "You're my favorite actor. I have a movie that I want you to be in. We're going to play brothers." And
did you know who he was? Was he a figure to you at all as a guy who could make a movie?
No, he was just the guy that I met through my friend in the hospital. I mean, I knew he was an actor, but the only real performance I was familiar with was the one he gave in my friend's hospital room.
Right.
Because he was telling stories and he was captivating. And he didn't remember me from the hospital.
Right.
And I finally told him, you know, we've met before through Bianca. At the hospital that time, he goes, that's you. You're that kid. You're that kid in the with Bianca in the room that time. Oh man, that's you. You're really that guy. And then he says, well, we have to work together. I have this script. And I said, sure. And he was, you know, putting his arm around me, and everyone who walked by goes, look, don't you think we could be brothers? We look like brothers, don't we? And a year went by. I heard from him and he said he wanted to send me the script, and I got it, and there was no brother in it. There was that character,
Right.
and I had a really like a sinking.
There is no brother, only goon.
Part that he wanted me to do, and I was right, and he and I was uncomfortable with the idea, and I asked if I could play the gangster instead, the Mickey Rourke part. And he said, yeah, I can see how you would be attracted to that role. But that guy has to be like someone really tough, like someone who could beat me up, or you're goon. You have to play goon. You are goon. You no one else can play the part but you.
And so then you're working with him. Did you rehearse with him, or did you just show up for the work?
I just showed up, and he told me. I mean, I kept refusing him, and
what do you mean by refusing him?
I turned him down. I passed on the part. I said,
right.
I'm not your guy.
Right.
And the whole thing went away.
Okay.
It came back. It came back because I went sort of crawling back. I don't know if I should go into the whole thing. I called him up. I was drunk, and I had just lost the Independent Spirit Award to Benicio del Toro.
Right.
And I told Vincent all of this on the phone.
Well, you walked from Santa Monica to Beverly Hills.
I walked from the big tent. I walked as far as I could before. It was just too hot, and I got a cab the rest of the way to the hotel.
Okay.
And I was really drunk, and I was really upset. I was having a kind of a collapse emotionally, and I needed some immediate validation. I needed an immediate shot of encouragement, and I called him, and I told him the whole story, and he was like, "Where are you? What are you doing right now? Who did you lose to or something?" I said, "Benicio del Toro." It was like Johnny Fontane in The Godfather, and he's like, "What did he win for?" And I said, "For Basquiat." He goes, "Yeah, he won for playing me," which was a coincidence. And I said, "Well, listen, I think I want to be in your movie."
Right.
And he goes, you want to be in the movie? You want to be in my movie now? He goes, "Well, I gave the part to someone else." And he goes, "But listen, I'm going to get it back." This is a true story. He goes, "I'll call the guy. I'll tell him, that, I'll make it happen. I'll make it work. Whatever, however he."
Do you know who that was?
I don't know, and maybe it was nobody, but I don't know.
Who's gooning now?
He's just a weirdo as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's totally weirdo.
He's good.
He's good. He's good in real life.
Call him Rocky.
I remember he was in Superbad. He's the guy that owns the house that has that's the first movie I remember, because I've seen him in other, I saw him in Goodfellas. Vincent Gallo was in Goodfellas too, which is interesting. But I remember in Superbad, he's the guy whose house is having the party, and he throws out the really fucking creepy, I forget the actor's name, but his pedophile character, pretty much. He throws him out of the fucking house, and is the one that gets everyone to hit him and stuff.
Exactly. He gooning.
But there's this kind of fascination, innocent fascination and comedy to those scenes with Goon that I enjoy.
And especially I actually genuinely, because this is a funny movie in weird ways, but just this whole thing of call me Rocky. I'm not Goon anymore. And then like he goes on this like, and he's so pissed because like where the character Billy Brown is at is like it's the last thing that he wants to hear. So he's like, so then he goes into that tirade about, you know why they call you Goon? It's because you're retarded and you're ugly. You're an ugly retard, which he doubles down on. I appreciate that. Yeah. And they call you Goon because you're ugly and retarded. You'll always be Goon. Goon, Goon, Goon. That's what I'm gonna call you for the rest of your life. Is Goon, 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 Goon. Okay, so fuck you. Like it's so like that's his level of frustration. But the armed response to just like, hey, can you maybe not call me this horrible nickname, like, and call me like this other thing instead? No, that's not something that Billy can do. And it's sad, but it's so funny because if you think of like where these two characters are at, right? That like, hey, here's this guy that he was really close with, but since then he's become this more fully realized entity, we can assume, and like has his own life and has like built up his autonomy and doesn't necessarily want to be called this like horrible nickname anymore. And then and then Billy's like, I don't care about any of that.
Yeah, he completely disables him and rebuffs, like, and like.
Yeah, like that's not important. Like all the things you're saying are not important at all. And like, just what about my needs is basically what it is, which is so juvenile, but it is so funny. Like it is funnier than it really should be for me. Yeah. It's also cruel, but it's very funny.
But then you have that, you know, again, that scene where the flashback when Goon is visiting him in prison.
Right.
And you see, they clearly have that relationship.
Send these letters. This when he's perpetuating his fraud, right? Of like, I'm this big successful, CIA agent apparently, and like you have to send this in January, you send this in February, you know, so on and so on. Like he's like, and he's like just has no faith that Rocky, we will call him, is going to be able to complete the task at hand, and he keeps being like, you got this? Like, all right, let's go over this again because I'm not.
Goon really has like a learning disability at the very least.
He does, right?
Which, you know, game recognized game, I guess.
Goon. Like he says it like 7 times.
Or goon recognized goon.
Goon
there's something so like
wow
also about that last scene where he's about to go in and in his mind he plays out, you know, he kills Scott Wood and then he kills himself and or you know, and then he gets but he calls him up on the phone first. He says, like, you know, like a little kid, like, I want you to have my locker, all the stuff in my locker. I want you to have that. Like, you're my best friend. And then but when he doesn't go through with it and he comes back out and realizes
it's like, you can't have it. Don't take any of it. I'll kill you.
He's like, I'll kill you. This is my locker. Don't fucking touch my locker. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, imagine getting those messages back to back. You're like scared for you're like scared for your friend and you're like, oh fuck, he did the thing, like he did the bad thing that, you know, that he was gonna go in there. And I like that they call it the bad thing. They don't call it like I'm gonna go fucking kill Scott Wood. So he's like, you're thinking like, oh, he did the bad thing, and then your next message is like, fuck you, don't touch my locker. That's my locker. I have a girlfriend. You don't have a girlfriend. I have a girlfriend. You're always gonna be Goon. And it's like, Goon didn't do anything to warrant that.
Well, and it's what's funny is that scene, very funny, by the way, is in the middle of his redemption arc. Like he's redeemed himself in some way, right? And then like it's like, oh no, he still has time to be a dick though. Don't worry about that. But he's just a Goon who obviously deserves it because he's Goon. Goon. But I think that, well, I'm glad you brought that point up because first of all, I've been wanting for the entire length of the show to bring up the usage of reversal stock, which was brought up in the comments as well, which is not typically use 35mm reversal stock. I can't even get it anymore. But you have to really oversaturate the lighting. It's very difficult. It's very tumultuous and sort of difficult to deal with, much like Vincent Gallo himself. And it's one of the reasons why this movie like looks so cool. Like this is a cool looking movie. Like the visuals here are incredible. And say what you will of Vincent Gallo, and I got plenty to say as well. Dude knows how to Goon, yes. Dude knows how to light a movie. He knows how to frame a movie. Like he studied from some of the best filmmakers that are out there, especially for vibe and for mood and working on limited budget, like a Cassavetes style, right? And it's almost alarming of how good it is. But then also, here's the thing: so many people didn't want to give him any credit for it because he's a cock. And if people, guess what? When you're a jerk, people will go out of their way to not give you credit. But visually, this is a stunning movie. But the usage of reversal stock it's actually insane. It's an insane decision that is insane. Like there's no reason why anyone should ever do that. But yet the results are fantastic. Like it looks unlike. Think about this. Was it 1998? Right, is when this came out. What this is digital isn't. It isn't even at the point where you get something like Danny Boyle doing 28 Days Later, like where it's like this like really screwed up. Early digital isn't even at that point yet movies are also kind of going for this fast handheld quick cut MTV style thing. This is all long shots, super pensive, long ponderous shots. When you have a flashback, it comes in is a small square and you see like the screwed up thing that's being referenced come into frame and come back out. Like it's a unique filmmaking style, and it's something that is honestly like pretty stunning, and it's just crazy.
It's so gorgeous. Like when I watched it again last night, I was just like mesmerized, and I had to rewind it and play it again because I was like, "Fuck, this is visually just so attractive." I'm just like, "Whoa!" Obviously not the death part, but like the way that and the blood crystallizing and going out, it's just gorgeous. The way
like how he does that, the pseudo matrix shot, right? So we're talking about, first of all. And I got to give a shout out at this point to best usage of a song in a motion picture for Heart of the Sunrise, which I'm going to charitably say, yes, was not cool to like at the time. That's probably the nicest way that I can put it. And astounding usage of a very weird but cool song. And then, with the like, again, pre-Matrix, frozen in amber kind of like crime scene photo style. Like it's
almost like they're so vivid and zoomed in, like it,
and ugly. Like it's like like it's like
Because when you watch this film, one of the things that stands out is, as you said, the framing. The photography in this film is fucking incredible. Like and it's stunning. Like watching it again last night, I was like, almost throughout the whole film, you can take incredible stills of this film.
Yes.
Like, and they stand alone on their own.
Look at the dinner table with the stuff that's framed from Gallo's perspective and from Ricci's perspective, like in various points of like the emotional content of the conversation. Like it's
the downward shots on the bed, the shots with the bath, everything is meticulously crafted.
Well,
and then
the shot reversal shot in the car where it's the two of them, and it's bold to frame it up that much in a small car like that. Like it's very bold to frame both sides of it and to do like the shot reversal shot.
And I'm glad you brought up the scene in the bed too, which for my money is like up there with like the best Wong Kar-wai or whoever can offer, where you just see like just like the hands kind of going. It's like oh, that's so good because it's sort of like that's the key. It's so key to the entire film, and there's been this crazy buildup where you're like, what is going to happen? Like you just genuinely don't know. You're like, this could go like either way at any moment in time, and that's you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, oh, right on. I didn't know I was looking for that, but now I am, and it is absolutely remarkable. And again, I'm not saying that I love the dude and all of his weird beliefs and all the weird stuff he sells or doesn't sell on his website and his hoarding of aluminum guitars, any of that stuff. And especially not the Brown Bunny, which I despise. But for that shot alone, it's like, this is a goddamn masterpiece. I'm sorry.
I did invest
you got to give it up. Good. Well, that's good. Got to get on the ground floor.
It seems like it's an early version of like Bitcoin or something.
It's it's unvaxxed. It's unvaxxed sperm. That's the new Bitcoin.
And it's there is like, it's just the beauty of this film is just astounding. Regardless, of whether you despise or don't despise Gallo.
Regardless of your opinion on unvaxxed sperm, correct? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I guess if I really needed a child, like Vincent Gallo, he's really attractive. Like he's very arty and musical. Better than going to a sperm bank if you've got the money.
Oh, I really need to get myself a child. Where can I do it? Vincent Gallo.
He's more of that Vincent Gallo sperm.
At least you know he's gonna look pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So okay. Wow. All right. But I think that so getting back to the gamed out scenario of like the darkest ending, right? Like you just see this, like everything is just impossibly sleazy and gross in that small town kind of way of like just everything feels like it's kind of covered in brownish grime and whatever you should call the snow and dirt mixed together. Yeah, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Sludgy and gritty and kind of like thing and
because it's salt and dirt and just
And you finally see the kicker guy, and he's this gross, corpulent dude, like surrounded by a bunch of boob job strippers.
Well, he made his nut. He made his nut. He was done. He missed his kick, and now he's retired. You know.
But you see the approach, and you genuinely don't know what's gonna happen. But you're like, it looks like he's gonna go through with this. This is crazy. And then you see the shootout, and then him turn the gun on your side. I guess this is where we get demonetized by YouTube, by the way, for inappropriate content. But like you see, and then you're like, oh wow, okay, crazy. And then it does it in a way that's earned, where you're like, oh no, that was just him thinking about it, and he just decided maybe I got something better on the other side of this highway, and that is like crazy because it's so invested. And again, you got Heart of the Sunrise going, and you're like, oh, it's gonna get real. Stuff's getting crazy.
So this cues up the last clip that I wanted to play out of the ones that I grabbed. This is him talking about the
comments. Everybody's listing all the other problematic men that I also like.
So this is him talking about what he got out of the process of filming it. I think this is interesting, like his own.
Oh, the kid doing Harris's insufferable narcissism. Wow, I missed that one. Okay, yeah.
Well, it's a primary genetic trait. So this is him talking about what he got out of the process of making this and like the feeling of being unloved. So this is the last interesting clip that I'll play.
Sure.
I'm in a relationship now. I'm married. I have my first love affair of my whole life. So I'm very old. You know, I'm in my 30s. I'm, just turned 37 years old. So to be in a love affair for the first time this late into my life has brought up a lot of those painful abandonment and fears and things. And it's very difficult for me each day to love somebody and be loved by them. And I'm disappointed in myself for not being more prepared for that experience, because I put a lot of pressure then on my wife and myself because of my ability to withdraw all the time, because I'm so unused to caring about somebody. I never cared about anybody in my whole life, especially not myself. I mean, when I raced motorcycles for 14 years. It's a very dangerous sport. And I would get in crashes all the time, brutal crashes all the time. And the only thing I would worry about was the bike. Did I fuck up the paint? How much was it going to cost to fix it? And how long was it going to take me before I could walk again because I needed to clean the house or something? It was never, oh wow, I almost killed myself. Never that. So it's difficult for me to be in that relationship now. But making the movie helped me a lot, really a lot. And it helped me a lot that I was able to document a lot of my sensibilities, as my musical sensibilities, my visual composition sensibilities, my acting performance, my writing performance, the filmmaking itself, all the choices, the credit sequence, everything that I obsessed on, that I always wanted, the poster, the CD, I got to control everything, even the trailer for the movie. I made the trailer for the movie. So something about that makes me feel very good because forever it's been documented, and I feel much less anxious about proving myself in that way or being remembered in that way. Sorry, I talked too long. Now, as an adult, I remember a lot of those things as funny, but in the moment, no, I didn't. I had very little pleasure in a family sense, but I was very full of life. I mean, you know, I played baseball, football, basketball. I had hobbies. I raced motorcycles as a kid. I had lots of things. I loved being alive. But anytime my father and mother came around, there was always something wrong, you know. So as long as I was away from them, I was really happy. And as long as I could go to the basement. Do you have that in Japan? Do they build basements? No. Okay. Well, we have these things where you, under the house, there's a room, and it's a place where you store things. But I had all my pets there, and my fish tanks, and my models, and all my things that I worked on. And I would come home from school, and I would go in the basement and just stay alone, and I was very happy, very happy. Everything that I do is conceptual, and everything that I'm obsessed with is aesthetic. So the combination of conceptual ideas and aesthetics consistent in everything that I do makes the film have a kind of soul and a monochromatic clearness. So, you know, I didn't visualize the film in that way, the way that you saw the film. I visualized it conceptually in an aesthetic way, and that's how it turns out, you know, something like that. It's a bit, when I was making the movie, I didn't really think about the film actually ever being released in the movie theaters. I really made the film from what I thought was my own point of view at the time. So my sensibility is a bit experimental, I guess.
I literally could watch him talk for hours. I'm just engrossed in what the fuck is going on of every sentence he says. Like,
and the lighting, like whoever lit that just like understood his face, and just seeing like every time he moved, the way the light just shifts across his face is just like interesting.
And he's starting to get the female side of this.
well, and it's one of the keys to how gorgeous cinematography is too, because everything with that reversal film has that kind of desaturated, like could be a painting.
Yeah,
almost
well,
look.
it's like to the whole like a color scheme. It's like when you do a painting, you do an underpainting that kind of unifies the whole thing, and in film, it's the reverse of that. Like the film stock that it's going on is that final piece that kind of ties everything together, and it just. I kind of got obsessed with thinking about like tricks of film when I was doing photography a little while back. And I remember like the Beck video Devil's Haircut like looked so cool because it was all done with expired film.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
hold on.
I know you have one thing to cap it off with. I just wanted to quickly reference that for like the couple years before this, he was the muse of Claire Denis. And who was
that's right, yeah,
Wim Wenders' assistant director on Paris, Texas. So like he literally learned from like the best of the best,
which is also a gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
So Buffalo 66 has Lance Accord as the cinematographer, who is best known for working on stuff with Spike Jonze, such as by the way, also director of a Beck video, Being John Malkovich adaptation, and Lost in Translation. Tied it back to Sofia Coppola, because that's also really. Tying it back to Sofia Coppola, right? Spike Jonze. Basically, Lost in Translation is sort of about Spike Jonze and Sofia Coppola's relationship breaking up. So, Lance Accord, the cinematographer for all that stuff. And this hotel Wi-Fi can fuck itself, by the way. But and this is why we do local recordings.
Yeah, he did adaptation, being John Malkovich. Like he's really great at being director of photography or looking at or cinematographer. He's amazing. And then
Right.
couple that with Gallo's conceptual, and he says it himself, he loves aesthetics, and you can tell, like, because everything is aesthetic, from the outfits to the hair to the choice of everything is very deliberate.
The cars.
Which is why it's
yeah.
like the Claire Denis thing is cool, because the two movies like that she worked as assistant director. Well, she worked on a lot of them, but like Paris, Texas, Wings of Desire, she was the assistant director on both of those, and those are both aesthetic heavy movies. And he had gone around just kind of hanging out with her and being like her muse for like 5 years or something before making this.
Yeah, and you can see that, you can see how it's flows through into his work. And this was his first feature length debut.
Should have been the last too.
But I mean, it's a phenomenal film and gorgeous to watch as a first feature length. Like,
I just really hate the Brown Bunny. Sorry, but I love this.
I know.
This is a 5-star movie for me. This is crazy.
I mean, we've talked about Brown Bunny before, and I know you dislike it immensely. And yes, the story isn't great, but I actually love the way it looks. Like,
sure,
as a photography student, I love the way it looks. I just love the way he lines up shots and frames them. So that film, if you turn off the, if you hated it, if you turn off like the vocal and all of that, I feel like just beautifully you can watch it. I mean,
it looks cool. Yeah.
Mine's a big scene. It's not really needed. It's just because I've got a big dick and I want to put it in. But like, the rest of it is gorgeous to watch as well. It's also beautifully framed and shot. And he's definitely got an eye for aesthetics.
Well, and just knowing to get, Spike Jonze's guy. And like knowing that he would be like fully down with like, I'm using this crazy reversal stock. Like, I'm going to be.
And he's casting. He's casting.
Yeah.
Like, you've got two incredibly gorgeous, unique indie darlings. You've got, Christina Ricci, and then you've got Chloe Sevigny. Like, he knows how to pick the women too. Everything is just really well, orchestrated to be good looking.
I agree with what you just said.
Yeah, and Mickey Rourke. I mean, like, Mickey Rourke's always fascinating to look at, even after like his weird plastic surgery and whatever. But like,
which helped for Sin City.
Yes, I mean, like even like honestly, like his scene and The Expendables, like what's he doing in that movie? Like that is from a better movie, just somehow stuck in the middle of Expendables.
Sure,
but no, like but in this, like he's just the choice of glasses that he's wearing just makes him a lot more interesting looking.
Yeah, well, I feel like in some ways Mickey Rourke is like the older version of a Vincent Gallo, if he had a little bit more of a career before he get burned out completely. Like, Mickey Rourke obviously is someone that Vincent Gallo looks up to a lot. I mean, we saw that clip in the intro that I found where he's like, Sean Penn wishes he was Mickey Rourke, which I love that line.
Yeah.
He's got so many stellar lines like that where you just like.
Well, at least Mickey Rourke fights men.
And and at least I would rather be Mickey Rourke than Sean Penn walking around a Haitian refugee camp with a gun in his,
Well.
Dude, that's a crazy moment in time. But I don't know, like, Mickey Rourke is somebody who I feel like both the politics, I guess, of both somebody like Mickey Rourke and Vincent Gallo are kind of reactionary, right wing. It does show that like you can have artistry while still having politics. A lot of people want to deny that that's the fact, but like
it's obnoxious because it's not true. Yeah.
And although even Vincent Gallo was like, I'm the one reactionary hard right winger that has good, like, that can make good movies. It's like, I don't think that's true, but like,
well, that's come on, dude.
But yeah,
that's some goon discussion
but also their tendency to both kind of mouth off about people that like ends up hurting, like shooting themselves in the foot, both of them, right? Like they're famous for that, like, which is what he was talking about when he said the thing in the clip. Like, even if Mickey Rourke loses his career, the only reason he was going to like lose his career, at least according to Mickey Rourke, is that he fucking hated De Niro to the point where he couldn't stop shit talking him. But in some ways I get, because De Niro also mouths off, but he just mouths off about the right people that isn't gonna, like, like Trump or whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, there's certainly something to say for that, and again, this goes back to the art versus artist thing, right? Like, if you discuss anything Vincent Gallo, for some reason, you're forced to contend with literally everything he's ever done or said, or opined about, or put on a website for sale potentially, and. I can't hang with that. Like, I think this is a fantastic work of art. I unabashedly back it, and I find that it reveals more and more every time you watch it. But it is art, which is to say that to engage with it isn't to have your ideas of how to be a good person validated. You're looking at like damaged people, and I'm going to use the plural there for a reason, dealing with each other and like finding their way through the darkness. And I think it's incredibly effective, and in a way that, like, honestly, more effective than anything else he's ever done. Peace and love, peace and love. Certainly not that Brown Bunny movie, which is an objective piece of trash. Sorry, but
yeah. No, keep going.
But I think that it's very difficult to have that opinion now, because people are, well, Vincent Gallo sucks. Like, yeah, but did you watch the movie? Well, no, you have some idea of what it is. And that's why I would really like, before we go to Letterboxd one-liners, if we could talk about the ending. Because, like, where he runs through the bakery and to get and he gets, like, he finally gets the goddamn hot chocolate, first of all. And then the hard cookies.
He finds the new goon, the old guy that he's like, yeah, girlfriend, don't eat the cookie all the way. And you're like, there's something so like crucially autistic about Vincent Gallo. Both his own like interviews that he gives in the movie, where he's like, I have these like hyper fixations that I down in my basement, I have these things that I get fixated on. Like, there's something but then also like the way that he talks to people, like it reminds me a little bit of like I have a family that like has like a lot of my family kind of has like Asperger's kind of thing. It reminds me of that, where it's like you can't help it, like you have to tell the fat guy like, don't eat the cookie on the way home.
He has to say it. He can't not say it. Yeah.
Although I also kind of get the vibe of like, you ever go to like a convenience store or a package store, and there's like some meth heads in front of you in line, and like they're really nice, but like they're obviously like on meth. And
he has that energy without the meth. Sure. Yeah. It's right. It's like an affable mania, right?
Like,
it's like I'm happy that you two are here, but I'm kind of worried about the fact that I'm here with my child. And
well, I just love that dude is literally just like, just there, just like sitting at a table, like having an evening, and like, it is like, what is it? What? Okay, sure, yeah, I got a girl. All right, you're gonna give me a cookie? Okay, sure. Why not? All right, like, but like,
very.
It's not that like he doesn't. What do you call it? Like, he doesn't. There's no filter there, and everything he thinks. He just straight out says it, like,
and it's pure elation, which leads to the like, don't eat it on the way home.
Exactly. It's like the things that you secretly think in your head, and then he spits them out and just says them, and you're like, and it's so funny. Like, there's so many funny moments in this film that, like,
I agree.
You said earlier, that shouldn't really be funny, but they're fucking hysterical.
Yeah,
it works.
There's that kind of
lack of heads buy ice cream.
That kind of lack of like a filter, like lack of that kind of social awareness or whatever. Like it gets to the point where if you're somebody that the person clearly cares about or like is close to, that like has built that like his relationship with Goon, where he's like, oh well, fuck you, Goon, like
Rocky,
like him out. Yeah, but it's like he's constantly cursing him out and calling him Goon and insulting him. And there's something about like you having to talk, like if it's someone you care about that has that lack of filter, like at some point you have to like start trying not to take that stuff personally and be like, this person, like, and it's hard, but like I got that feeling throughout this whole like conversation with Goon. He's just insulting him and all
Rocky,
that stuff.
it is not his dead name. Come on, stop dead naming Rocky.
But it's like the way that he's picking on him is one of the Forrest, dead name, classic actor, Rocky, Goon,
aka FKA. Sorry,
the artist formerly known as Goon.
Right. MC Goon, Lil Goon, Lil Goonie. Sorry.
By the way, another insane thing. I don't know how
Little Goonie. That's his rap name.
I don't know how Vincent Gallo managed to Forrest Gump his way through every movement from the 70s.
Oh yeah.
The early 2000s. One of the things he did was breakdancing. He was in a breakdancing collective. So there's like before he was like a director, right? When he's just kind of an actor, he was on TV a lot. Like they constantly had him on for all these different things. And one of them is they did like a breakdancing documentary. And you see Vincent Gallo be like, "Yeah, me and the homies were." It's like
right, yeah.
He's talking about his breakdancing career with like a bunch of like rappers or whatever that are around him.
Yeah.
He's like, we would go and we would breakdance. It's like, dude, you've like Forrest Gumped your way through Manhattan.
He's hanging out with Basquiat. I mean, he's all busy.
He was Basquiat's roommate.
Fable.
He was Basquiat's roommate, which is why he ended up getting played in that movie by like there's a character in that movie that's a composite of all of like Basquiat.
Yeah.
He was in a band with Basquiat. They like started a band.
I forget what they were called, but yeah. I used to know that, but I don't remember it anymore.
Benicio del Toro was the was like the composite of all the Basquiat roommate kind of like collective people, and one of them was Vincent Gallo. And it's like this guy just managed to kind of just wander his way. His paintings are good too.
Even the motorbike riding, like I remember when he was a motorbike rider.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like I remember that, and he did photo shoots as well, like around that time in fashion. And I think the first time I ever came across him was in fashion, like when he was riding motorbikes in fashion, and he was in so many fashion magazines doing really.
He was the Calvin Klein model.
Shots, yeah. He did a lot of really cool photo shoots, and like ones, that were like, whoa, really rad. And because of his striking appearance, you were just like, oh. But like, I remember seeing him in that, and like the guy is in, he might be Forrest Gumpin, but he's also like
Forrest Gumpin.
But he's also like,
hey, don't mind me, I'm Forrest Gumpin.
But he's also incredibly talented. He jumps from all these things that he can do really well.
Yeah. It's like Michael DeBar's, like that guy that was like Murdoch in freaking MacGyver, but he also like wrote like an all-timer like synth pop hit, was in like a glam band in the 70s, like he was in WKRP. It's like, what is this? What is this guy? Like, how is he in all these places?
You just got all these things that you can do, and I think like that's the thing with Gallo. Like, even if you dislike his politics and all of that stuff, he's really engaging and charismatic, and like you just like, this guy can just do shit. He just looks good. He does this stuff like captivating, whether he's insane or not insane, and I think he'd be really fun to hang out with when you were drunk. Like, he's got all these incredibly cool friends, you know what I mean, as well.
Yeah.
So he's like, he might be a dick, obviously, but like,
I feel like he's probably going to gang up on at least one person at that party.
100%. And that's why I used to watch his interviews religiously, because I'd be like, who's he got? Like, who's on the firing line this time?
Right,
like, who's he going to phone? And then, I mean, even in this film, like with Christina Ricci, like, what caused all the trouble on the set was the fact that, and she's elaborated on this further over the years, that what the key to why this was so stressful and why they didn't get along was because he played Billy Brown throughout the entire shooting of the film.
Right.
And so he stayed
method acting as a director. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was in character 24/7. So he was apparently, she said he was yelling at her. And like, like all those scenes that we saw where like, if you do it, shit, I'm going to kill you. Like, he was doing that at her regularly, like all the time, like on set and things. And like, one day, 2 pimples, and he was like, oh, look at you, you've got 2 pimples. And he would just call out shit like, and like this, like all the time. And it was like, no filter. And I'm just going all the way here.
He was, and then we could go to one-liners, but he was famously really, really close friends with Courtney Cox. I was watching old interviews where Courtney Cox brought her in to Courtney Cox there's a whole really famous interview that she gives where Vincent Gallo, I guess, and her did a movie together. Years before all this, where he went full method, and he was supposed to be like this troubled game show host or something, and he like went method to the point where he wouldn't talk to Courtney Cox, who he had ostensibly been friends with, like very like extremely close, like best friends with for like years before that, and she wouldn't talk to him anymore. for the longest time because he was just such a dick on the set of the thing. And she famously, I was watching this Jay Leno interview that she gave in like 2007 or 2008, where she brought Vincent Gallo back in from the cold, which has happened to him a lot of like. There's all these things after his whole career fell apart. Like he's been brought back from the cold multiple times. As much as Ben Shapiro wants to pretend that he's the first person to bring Vincent Gallo back in 15 years or something, but
the difference between those guys is Vincent Gallo has talent.
Yeah. But she brought him into this show that she was working on because she was obviously like after Friends or whatever. She was like the showrunner on all these different shows that she was in, and so she brought him in to play some role, and it was like this famous thing. And so they did a whole press run of like, I brought Vincent Gallo back, my good friend from the past, and we're good again. Like we're close again. It was like this guy's been friends with everyone. He also like I don't know if they dated officially, but he like dated Rosario Dawson, which is kind of crazy.
Oh yeah. I remember that
like,
now. Yeah,
he's Eskimo Brothers, I guess with
Cory Booker.
I gotta say, I noticed this, and yeah, it's funny that like everybody likes obviously him for his talent, and and especially this film. But I find it so funny and polarizing that majority of men dislike him immensely, regardless of the politics side of things. Like people, it's like a jealousy, weird thing that men really don't like him, but women seem to love him, and I kind of feel it's a weird thing.
Okay, so can I just say, it's not for me. It's not a jealousy thing.
Oh no,
but there's something squirrely about Vincent Gallo. It's a specific kind of guy, and it so happens that like, oh well, he's also an incredible talent and can do all these things, and like maybe is not like a sweetheart to his friends or whatever. I don't know, but like there's something that's just like about him that you're just like
he's got that undertone of like something like really prickly and like could be a real asshole if you're on the asshole end of it, you're gonna cop it.
There's a sense of violence too, but beneath the surface that like
it's unsettling.
Yeah, that like outburst type.
It's just like the tweakers in front of you at the patchy when you're with your kid.
I wonder about like the alienation side of it though. Like somebody like Vincent Gallo clearly has this giant chip on his shoulder from like the day he fell out of his uncaring
which game respect game.
I was gonna say the day that he fell out of his mother's room while she was watching fucking football. Like
exactly. Yeah, but she was.
Even know but
that scene could have been in a movie. I believe it.
But no, like there's something very alienating about somebody like that, which like they build an enemies list in their head. Like there's this paranoid feeling to it, and I wonder how that meshes with his political ideology, right? Like this feeling that because he's someone that like embraced
it's more grievance based than anything else.
Exactly. And he was someone who liked Trump a lot, right? Like he's someone who kind of politics. But I feel like that appeals to a certain kind of person who feels so alienated by their surroundings and by this social and fashion based milieu, I guess, around them, that they end up retreating back to their because he lived like on a fucking his own little like compound thing for the longest time and wouldn't come out of his house. Like I wonder about like that psychological
just buying up every Travis Bean and Valino in existence and like hanging them on his wall and making his weird sad indie rock. It's just really strange. He has one of the biggest collections of aluminum guitars on the planet, and that I am not lying about that. And it's just but I know somebody who sold one to him, and he was so persnickety and so just exactly like what you would expect the interaction to be like. Just very, very curt, succinct, like on the spectrum.
That's what you play, right?
I do, but he wouldn't be interested because he doesn't believe Electrical Guitar Company guitars are canonized. It's either Valino's or Travis Bean's original, not Travis Bean designs. This is so insular. I'm astounded at myself for bringing it up. But like he has something like 30 of them, and to be clear, these are each like worth like $5,000 to $10,000 each. They're not cheap guitars. There you go. Great. So
look at that sketchy look that he has.
It looks like one of those old school, the house robbers.
Right.
He's like, will this guitar fit under my jacket?
and it's weird because like it's just not a thing people hoard. Is the best way that I can put it. And but he's so specific. Like, I think he's somebody I know that sold him a Volino. He got mad because he thought that like the gem that goes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's very persnickety. That's what it comes down to. He's very specific about like what he does and doesn't want, which it seems to be in everything he does. Also guitars. Oh, and we haven't even mentioned he makes records too. He has like a record on Warp. He has a couple on Warp, right? Like the Aphex Twin label, which is crazy because it's like, what? This is sad indie rock.
He's played a ton of festivals too, where it's just him and a piano, and it's like a tiny keyboard, and he's right in the middle of the stage, like nowhere, and there's nothing happening. It's just him going.
Yeah,
they brought back his band with Basquiat like recently, I think, or a few years ago too. But like without Basquiat, obviously. Even though
but that would be hard. Yeah, they got a Ouija board.
I mean, they could dig him up. He could just be on stage.
Well, no, they could do the Tupac thing. They could do a hologram Basquiat.
Wow, what a time to be alive. No, I mean he's an interesting character. I think discussion of Vincent Gallo is disingenuous to Buffalo 66, though. It's impossible to avoid. But I think that like the more you talk about Vincent Gallo, you're like, oh, that guy. Oh. And then it's like, yeah, but this is a remarkable movie. This is no kidding. This is at least in my top 100 movies of all time. And probably top 50.
I don't know. I find the guy fascinating, but
he's that's the thing. He's so compelling.
Yeah.
How can you not talk about it?
You can't.
Like I feel like in some way, I feel like he's who Tommy Wiseau sees when like Tommy Wiseau's like that's who he sees when he looks in the mirror. He's like,
right.
I am mysterious right wing man from New York City Law. This is me. I'm all American man.
I am from Buffalo.
That's Tommy Wiseau could pull it off. That's the accent. They're like, who the fuck do you know from Buffalo? He's like, Buffalo. That's where I'm from. This is how we all talk, Greg. It's Canadian accent, Greg.
Yeah, it's just really weird, indeterminate Eastern European shit. Yeah. So last thing on that, is that it's just I feel like that the movie, it's impossible to talk to without talking about the guy. But I think the movie itself, aside from the guy, is very interesting and cool. And despite it being something, even Christina Ricci, who has a lot of thoughts about it, but has also like come back around. You know what? Actually, like there was unpleasant at the time, but we made something cool. Like blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's been this weird like I'm going to characterize as I guess you got to hand it to him aspect of things that people come back to like later on, almost universally for this movie, and I think that's notable.
Yeah. Well,
there's something like too, Conan, like it goes through that resurgence constantly.
Right,
like
sure.
It's being picked up by new generations, and like everyone's obsessed with it. Like there was a designer here in Australia who made T-shirts, dresses, and like cushions and shit. All this shit was really expensive, and it was all like with images of Vincent Gallo from this film that they'd licensed from him. And like people would go nuts trying to find their sizes and find them in shops and stuff. It was like it is like this film is a cultural moment that a lot of people remember.
Right. Well, and just the same with like kids or like any like there's a nostalgia that comes with like late 90s indie movies. Mid to late 90s indie movies where every time it's for a while you don't see a good indie movie, and then all of a sudden like the cultural critics and like magazines and stuff start recycling like hey, remember when indie movies were good, and then they bring up like those are like on their short list.
It was when people were unafraid to be controversial or attach, look at different topics. Like someone in the comments mentioned Harmony Korine. Sure. Harmony Korine's Gummo is actually one of my favorite films, and it's incredibly controversial, incredibly
very challenging,
not PC. But I really love that film for it being completely raw and showing you fucked up sides of life that you don't normally want to see or do see. And I think that's what old indie films from our generation were like.
Right. Look at something like Mike Lee or Hal Hartley, who both are due for a resurgence, frankly, where it's like this, Hal Hartley coming from a deeply humanistic place and Mike Lee in his really jacked up English way doing the same thing. But like, it's something that it's come back around, right? Those are ripe for rediscovery because there's something just really just a incandescence of realness to it, even when it's like there's an artificiality to it that really only came from that like magic moment of like 90s indie cinema, and it was absorbed into the machine, and what came out was A24, which is different. But like but it did exist.
Definitely the next, it's like Pokemon, like it has evolved.
Sure, yeah.
From like that
just like it, yeah.
But it started off as Weinstein and it evolved into A24. God. Well, I mean,
what a sentence.
Weinstein's the magic harp of the.
I remember. I was there. I lived through it too. I'd remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's remarkable that, like, I feel so. It's encouraging. It's war with comedy. I feel like Vincent Gallo's at war with everyone, isn't he? I mean, he seems like just casually at war, but
and also Harmony Korine is also known for his bad behavior against other people too. Like,
yeah, he's no angel.
They both kind of,
and I think, their fighting relationship was definitely fueled lots by the media. I know, like, I remember there was like wars between interviews where the interviewer would say, "Oh, did you hear that he said this? Did you hear that he said this?" And it was like one of those things. Because
it's like high school.
There were two directors at the time that were very cool, indie, had their own thing going on. So let's pit them against each other,
I mean, Harmony Korine also was in like a long-term relationship with Chloe Sevigny, who they had the same with the Brown Bunny thing. Like, I imagine that fueled the fucking battle for years.
Yeah, it was like then he chose her, and she was super keen as a bean to do it at the time. So that wouldn't have worked well.
Well, Letterboxd is a place for film lovers to talk at with and to each other. Social media site for film. Everyone gets to have their say, not just the Siskel's and Eberts, who had a notorious war with Vincent Gallo.
Yeah. Well,
the world.
Ebert did bring him on to hash it out, though. I do respect him for that.
That's true. But allows everyone to have their say and to opine about the films they love, maybe the films that they didn't love, the films they were weirdly or not so weirdly horny for. And everybody gets to chime in, best expressed succinctly, working in your Type 5 in front of the brick wall at the Comedy Store style. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Buffalo 66. The first 15 minutes made my bladder hurt.
Same.
Yeah, to reenact it, I actually drank an entire thing of tea before this episode started, and didn't go to the bathroom just so I could, be a little bit more like Billy.
See, Conan could have reacted it better because he's at the hotel right now, and he could have.
That's true.
It would have been like they closed the bathroom at the hotel with like the bus station.
But he's gonna take a bath later, so.
The Buffalo bus station looks a lot like the one in Albany that they built. Before they fucking renovated that too.
I have also cried in the bathroom of a low-end chain restaurant, but it wasn't near as cinematic as this was.
Same.
I like the low-end chain restaurant of that because it is kind of a low-end chain restaurant. It's good. It's doing a lot of work.
Let's also remember, like in Denny's, this was 1998 when this movie came out. That is 3 years after they started serving black people in the chain, because they wouldn't serve black people. There was a lawsuit in the mid 90s.
Damn.
See, Vincent Gallo's tears worked.
That's kind of funny because when I used to go to Newburgh and party with people, and a lot of my friends in Newburgh are black, we would pile in 20 people deep at 3 a.m. at the fucking Denny's there. And that's one of the few places that was open.
Bowling has never been more miserable and sexy.
Oh my God. I was not expecting that erotic ball cleaning scene.
Yeah. It's a banger, as they say.
You gotta show a little skin in the bowling game.
Oh man, when Christina
that's why he's
the jacket.
That's why he's the top. He brings girls in, you know.
I love how he gasses himself up while the bowling. Like, yeah, like, what is he like? The kid is back or whatever. And it's like, who are you talking to? Like, who are you addressing this to? It's
But he is
one,
good.
One,
Like
his
that's
one friend. His one friend
Yeah.
at the yeah.
Jan Michael Vincent, exactly.
Stringfellow Hawk.
Yo, Airwolf, check it out. You see that shit?
Like he's completely unloved, but like all these people are doing shit for him. Like his friend at
Yes.
the fucking bowling alley has paid his locker the entire 5 years out of his own fucking money. Rocky, aka Goon, comes there and does all those favors for him. Like people are doing favors for him. It's like the Spamalot fucking number where it's like I'm all alone, and the guy and the fucking King Arthur's like, you know, like his like Patsy or whatever that thing behind him is like, but I'm here. It's like he has like all of these different Patsies around him that are like, you know, he's like, I'm all alone, and they're like, but I've been helping you out for like 5 years, man. Like,
right, exactly. No, it's notable. Very educational in the art of approaching women.
Billy Brown would have like a one of those pickup artist websites now, where he'd be like, I was in prison for 5 years. I learned a lot about the art of picking up women.
I'm thinking of Tom Cruise's character in Magnolia.
Yeah.
First, you got to threaten to bite her cheek off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Outlining the routine.
Just if you kidnap her and you look good enough.
Speaking of which, I could fix him. Done successfully. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a true success story.
I mean, yeah, he certainly fixed somewhat.
I love the idea of kidnapping somebody and then you start getting annoyed by the person you're like, oh, I kidnapped you, and then they're like, well, I don't have anywhere to go from here. I'll just keep, and you're like, oh, I guess you could keep following me. I was gonna just like, you don't have a home to go to, like,
yeah, right, exactly. What a turnaround.
Our errands are done, like,
which I gotta say, don't think I've ever seen in another film. So there you
go.
I know he's a bad person, but he looks really cool in this movie. That's just true. That's an objective truth.
It's just a fact. You can't. Yeah.
It's undeniable.
Yeah, I never get my hair to look that greasy and that good.
A homophobe in red boots has to piss so bad he abducts a ballerina.
That should be happening. You don't know what's gonna happen when you're kind of getting poisoned from the inside. The urine is still inside of you. You feel kind of crazy that way, you know. I mean, depending on what you've been drinking, you know.
Word. Christina Ricci put blue eyeshadow on the map. Ain't that the truth, friend? Ain't that the truth?
I felt things for her in this movie that because of her age, I was like, I don't know. I feel just as problematic as the guy that kidnapped her. Jesus Christ.
It's like right on the line, exactly.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. The worst person you know just made a great movie.
I don't want to actually this movie too much or like think too much about it, but he's been telling his parents that he's in this relationship for 5 years. How old would Christina Ricci's character have been?
No, yeah,
it's 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
28.
And she's very baby faced as an actress, so we can assume that the actual character is as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. This guy tried to fuck my friend's mom on an airplane.
Oh my god.
But it still got 4 stars. I mean, I respect it.
Yeah, you still gave it 4 stars, regardless.
Yeah, game respect game. Yeah. Those are the letterbox one-liners. Goon respect goon. Those are the letterbox one-liners for Buffalo 66. Please follow the show at Movie Night Extra. We have an HQ account. You can we post stories of all the episodes that we do. You can find all the links for everything and all of the other stuff that we cover on this show, and that is something that we very much would like to engage with you on. You can also follow our host there, Always Flacco. That's Forrest Miller. I can't see his moniker right now, but I think it's Gallo Humor, right? Gallo Humor.
I thought that was a good one. If I had thought of Goon, it would have been Goon Respect Goon. If I had thought of that.
Goon Respect Goon is pretty astounding. Forrest is logging all the stuff that we cover on this show on Letterboxing. Check out his thoughts on all there. I of course, am Conan Neutron at Conan Neutron. I am the Heart Cookie Baker. Goon Respect Goon is pretty good, I gotta say. But I'm covering all the highbrow, the midbrow, the populist fare, all the different stuff that's in there. New Criterion Challenge starting up in the next 2 weeks for 2024. So follow me along for that, and we can.
Wait, I want to shout out.
We can. I was just gonna say we're gonna span time together. We can span time together. Damn it! Can I do a second take on that? We're live, are we? So follow me on there, and we can span time together. There we go.
I want to shout out this comment. The "Don't Be Foolish" is a Michael Brooks reference, and I wanted to say I got that. Right. I got that. That's
that's good. It's a good one. J. Andrew Stockholm Syndrome World. Pardon me, aka Vincent Gallo, male gigolo. God damn it. That is, he does this just to make me laugh during this bit. I'm firmly convinced of it. And sometimes he's even successful. He's watching all the weirdest stuff so you don't have to. Or maybe so you can. Not for me to judge, just calling the balls and strikes. He's doing over there right about now too. On Letterboxd, follow him. Renee Ruin is definitely spanning time over there. She's spanning time like it ain't nothing. At Renee Ruin, she is on Letterboxd and not only logging stuff for this show, but from her lovely show as well. Please follow her as well. Stockholm Syndrome, take it away with the plugs, please.
All right. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do those YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. And, of course, the big ask is to watch the video to the end, because that allows other movie fans to find our content, and you get to hear a great Conan Neutron song. So, like Bad Lefty said, don't be foolish.
There's only one more episode where you're hearing that great Conan Neutron song, because we have
right.
We have a new one coming up on Conan's birthday, which is the 5th.
But it's still a Conan Neutron song, so
it's a more different one.
It's a different great Neutron song.
It's a bit more different.
It's more different,
we out here doing a more different podcast.
Movie night.
Like,
Automata.
Too much goon.
Yeah, Goon Respect Goon.
Every episode, there's another piece of artwork. You know, it's amazing. It's not the same. And it's same thing with the music.
I don't know where it comes from. Somebody keeps someone will just send me.
It's a more different picture. Wow.
I didn't. I saw it every week. This picture's more different. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like the idea that every week there's just an envelope that arrives and it has show art, and it's like but it's from an anonymous person. It's Andy.
Rocky sent it. Yeah.
Yeah, Forrest has got a dead name again. But if you're watching us over on Twitch,
J. Andrew Goon.
That's good. It's good. Solid work.
But if you're watching us over on Twitch, please throw us a sub. If you happen to have an Amazon Prime account, the big ask is you can subscribe for free, and that actually helps us out, and you don't have to spend a penny. Which, if you do that, thank you very much for all that stuff.
That doesn't seem like that big of an ask to me. That seems like a really easy ask if you have Amazon
It is a
Prime.
very easy ask, but it means so much to us. We wanted to thank you specifically for that. There we go. Find us on social media.
Were you gooning there? Is that what's going on?
I'm getting weird pop-ups. That's all. It's like undo typing. What the hell?
Cat-like typing detected. Goon-like typing detected. There we go. That's better.
There we go.
We're entering the Gooniverse.
Avengers in Goon? Or to be Goon Game? We're going to workshop this.
Yes. Yeah.
We're going to workshop this material, kid. It's going to be aces when we get a lockdown.
Yes. Find us on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, and, of course, Instagram. And goon.com. You can find us there, obviously.
Exactly. We gooning over there.
But
straight gooning, son.
We're on various social medias, but find us wherever you're comfortable social media-ing, and send us comments, like us, say hi. We'll say hi back. We will. I promise you.
Say it back.
Back. But we also have a Patreon, and if you subscribe to our Patreon, that also helps out the channel a lot. And you get access to things like our after parties, which it's too late to do an after party this week, but you can find some great after parties there. I know, Renee, you've done a few, right?
Have I done one? I don't know if I have yet.
And
I need to.
Well, actually, yeah, you always kind of end up having to cut out, I think, right as we finish our
I think
episode.
I did one or two in the early days, but I haven't done one recently. No.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Because you can go back there and find some classic Renee after parties that you're not going to find on a regular channel. So it's like bonus, bonus Renee that way. So please subscribe.
I love the description.
I'm sorry. Goon Girl's pretty great.
But I love the idea that the description of our after parties is things you're not going to find on another podcast. Like,
I feel like we don't ever do after parties on Fridays.
Yeah, usually because you guys are quite late and busy, whereas it's like middle of the day sort of for me. So
yeah, well, maybe we'll do a next month for Ex Machina.
we definitely got to do one for Ex Machina because we're gonna have a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to reference in that movie. Elon Musk ass character that I don't know.
We're gonna be
and we're gonna want to do one with you on February whenever we cover the Oscars.
We're gonna be straight gooning, son.
And I want to say thank you to all these people watching that are giving me lots of inspiration for sperm donors and also pointing out all the problematic men I like. I think I'm going to have to, after this podcast, go away and think about my behavior, given that nearly every guy that is listed in the comments is someone I find attractive, even Clint Eastwood included. So I've got some things to think about.
Just don't get brought back by Ben Shapiro as like the Daily Wire's Renee Roon. Like,
hey, maybe she finally makes some money.
Yeah.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Where are we at, Andy? Let's get back to.
I think we're up to you.
Oh, great.
Yes. Protonic Reversal. That was a show that probably didn't happen yesterday.
I was gonna say, why are you speaking in past tense? Yeah, no. It's yesterday was Thanksgiving, so I assure you, I did not do Protonic Reversal on Thanksgiving.
Nice music podcast. It would be shame if something happened to it.
I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. I have to go do a podcast right now.
Be real hard to do with my mom. Marnie Stern is the most recent episode, and that's a great episode. Matthew Film Guy said as much, as did KT. All these regulars on this show have said that that's a great episode, so I agree with them. And that is the most recent one. I got Steve Hodges of MSSV with Mike Watt and Mike Baguetta. He played drums for all of the best Tom Waits records, in my opinion. A really interesting guy. That's going to be next week, so stay tuned for that.
The percussion in Tom Waits' music has always been like one of my favorite standout things. It's like a dying machine sometimes.
Yes.
And it's incredible. So,
and he's a big part of it. He also has done a bunch of with David Lynch. He was in Thought Gang, which is the Fire Walk With Me band. And has done a bunch of it. He's a really interesting cat. Should be a good one, especially and is notably of interest to people who listen to this show too.
Okay, I am psyched to see that. So,
wait, just because of like who our interview is on Tuesday, I want to say whoever's watching this, like, and I'll post about this, but we're gonna be interviewing the guy who Rick Ives, who directed Solid Rock Trust, and it's a movie that's on Tubi. So like
it's good.
No, I watched it on Thanksgiving. It was really good. But just I'll post
with
the
your
link
grandmother.
And my grandma never likes movies, and she said that the performance in this was like pretty crazy. But I'll post the link to it on Tubi onto social medias before we do our interview, just so people can watch it and like know what we're
Sherry
talking
Prime
about.
already has.
Oh, for real? That's awesome. Because I feel like I don't even know how I found out about it, but I had someone describe it to me. I was like, that sounds really good. Like, and then I watched it. And I was like, oh wow, that was really good. But like, I didn't even. That was way before he like contacted the show or anything. I mean, not that whatever his people did. Pardon me. But he also has like worked on a bunch of like the Marvel movies and stuff like that. He's an interesting dude. So that
he
should
was
be
the
good.
assistant editor on Thor Ragnarok. He was the assistant editor on I think Infinity War, Endgame. One of those one of the like the big last phase 4 Marvel movies or whatever.
Yeah, Mandalorian season 1.
Yeah.
So this is his. I guess I think it's his debut jumping off of just doing the editing part and directing, and he wrote it and he directed it.
Yeah. It's cool too because it's like the performance in it's amazing because it's largely like not the entire thing, but largely one person in a room, and it's incredibly tense for being one person in a room. It's all awesome.
I have so many thoughts about this movie, and I can't wait to talk about it on Tuesday.
Talk about it on Tuesday.
I felt like like pretty much everything that could be done with like the hacker heist genre had been done in like the 90s 2000s. I was wrong.
No,
he found something else to do.
But anyways, what we really need to talk about is Conan's Patreon.
Yes, please.
$1 a month.
And by talk, we mean sign up for it. Thank you. That's really talk I want to hear.
If you want that interview with I'm sorry, I forgot the guy's name because we're talking about Rick Ives.
Stephen Hodges.
Stephen Hodges, yes.
Yeah.
If you want that interview early, sign up for the Patreon. $1 a month, and bada bing, you get it early.
Bada bing, you get it early. Put it on a sticker, hang it from a banner. Exactly. Yes.
And of course, if you enjoyed the music on this show, go to, especially since it's today, Bandcamp Friday. There's just a little bit of time left. Go to neutronfriends.bandcamp.com and get yourself some Conan Neutron music. You can buy the whole shebang.
It doesn't sound very much like the theme song, to be clear. But yes, please buy it anyway. Sure. Thank you. It's Black Friday, dude. I guess if you're gonna buy something, buy my shit.
Yeah, you can buy every single track for like a pretty good price. I don't remember what it is.
I don't remember what it is either, but it's pretty surprising.
Yeah,
I'm not
you
surprised.
Can't go wrong with that.
but I think people will be surprised by the value. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of music for a good price, is what I'm saying.
Right.
What better way to fight the holiday music than to buy some Conan Neutron songs?
And if you just want to buy one thing, Adult Prom is the most recent one. I split with Lung. Even if you don't get it for us, Lung is an incredible band, and they are
awesome. I was just listening to them yesterday.
Yes, they're very good. Very excited to totally not announce tour dates with them right now for the Midwest. That'll be in late spring. So, but I will soon. Excellent. And you can't. That's true. You can get them. Great Xmas music too. You can get them on CDs. We do sell them on CDs, and I forget to mention that because CDs are just not as sexy, I guess, than vinyl. But you can.
I mean, there's just something about vinyl. Like when you see David Bowie's Low on CD, not impressive. But when you see it in vinyl, there's just something about that image.
It's so big.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what they said about Vincent Gallo too. When you see it on CD.
That was the reference. Yep.
Yeah, he's really slow on the pickup, Andy.
But the Vincent Gallo record is so big.
All right, there you go. Anyway, in summation, buy my stuff. Thank you.
Yes. Christina's not here, but I did just want to shout out. She has a Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Cosmopolitics. And of course, we got Renee, host of come on. Going through my slides, and I did not write it down.
The night shift.
The night shift, yes.
Goon Girl. The podcast is called Goon Girl.
Goon Girl. We'll be back on the 2nd.
Goon with the wind.
We'll be back on the 2nd. And I'll be announcing the details for that. So keep an eye out. And then I'll be back on this show on the 15th to talk about Ex Machina, which is another film.
Yeah.
I really, really like. So I'm looking forward to that one.
But none of the leads are problematic, I don't think.
No, I love the actor who plays
Oscar Isaac.
Don Hall Gleason.
Oh.
Don Hall Gleason.
Goon in 60 seconds.
Yeah, and then I will be back again in Jan to talk about one of the old classics, Romancing the Stone.
Right. So it's a movie. So it's movie night, Automata, right, on December, and then January we're bringing back Adventure Month. It's movie night adventure, which means the adventure theme's coming back, which is one of my personal favorites. So
it's pretty great.
The Wizard
Thank
of
you.
Goon.
And then I'll be back
Right.
again for Oscar season.
That's right.
As well. So yeah. And we'll be also coming up in Jan. We'll be doing a special episode of Night Shift where
Tonight on a very special episode of Night Shifts.
Toby Poser, who was recently on the show from Addams Family Film, talking about their latest film. She's going to be coming on and interviewing us girls. So it's going to be a bit of a fun, weird new episode, just chatting with.
Actually, I heard it was just them doing an intervention on you with your problematic likes.
Yeah, my problematic male. Yes, I am going home. I mean, I'm home now, but obviously, I'm going to think about my.
We're taking you to problematic wood rehab.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about my choices, guys.
And we are developing a new Bad Takes, the first one in like a year. But we're going to be doing rare exports.
Yo, the movie better be still bad.
Apocalypse Goon is the movie you're doing, is what I heard.
No, Rare Exports, the Christmas film.
Night of the Living Goon.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is there is actually a movie called Goon, which is actually pretty good.
There is, yeah.
I mean,
Also the Goon.
It's a hockey
I'm
film.
disappointed though because I honestly was like, I hope this new movie. It was before they released the poster. I was like, it's a movie just about
What about Joseph Stalin sperm?
I did not get in on that at the time.
Hour and a half about Goon.
Well, it's it's communist sperm. It's egalitarian. Everyone can have some, you know. Renee, do you have some final thoughts? We've talked about a lot of angles here. More angles than Vincent Gallo's face, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, like
let me tell you.
As I mentioned, this film came up and it was my suggestion for us to do this one because it is one of my top 10, definitely, if not top 5. I've seen it too many times to not. And I think this film, whilst it's so weird and out of the storyline and stuff, there's something about feeling relatable in that sense of not feeling invisible or alone, not being able to live up to people's expectations, and dealing with difficult situations with your emotions and how you relate to people. And that's something I can definitely relate to. When I was growing up, I was definitely had some of those issues, and I can definitely relate with Billy's character on some of those, and that feeling of desperately wanting to be accepted. And then you have that separate aspect of just this whole film is just aesthetically pleasing, and just the way it's shot is just so great. I can't, as I said, being someone who's super obsessed with photography and just things, it just, to me, it's just every scene could have been its own photography. You could do an exhibition of stills for this film. It's just so attractive. And then there is this, hilarious under comedy that I just really like about this film as well. But then it also has this, this kind of strangely wholesome, in a weird way, kind of storyline that underpins, which is the two people who are pretty much down on their luck, and in some bad places, and coming together and finding, I guess, safety in each other, and looking through the darkness into the future. And it's just a bloody good film, amazing. Try to steer away from thinking of this film as Vincent Gallo and just go in thinking of this as a piece of art, which it is, and appreciate it that way. I think that's the best way to look at this film.
Dog Day After Goon. That was my.
You were waiting the entire time, weren't you? Like.
Yep.
The Old Man and the Goon. Top Goon.
Top Goon. That is
Top Goon Maverick.
That is Tom
Like
Cruise's.
Goon of the
That
Ring.
should be his title though, Top Goon.
Goon Will Hunting from the comments. The Goons of Navarone. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I'm stopping right now.
David Lynch's Goon.
The man with the golden goon. Top Goon's it, man. I can't do better than Top Goon. That's we've reached the nadir of the bit.
Andy, do you have some final thoughts?
Well said, Renee. By the way, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
I actually kind of forgot how good and relatable this movie is, and that's the other thing too that I think we need to remind people it is very relatable, especially if you've ever been to the Rust Belt. I went to college in that area, like the edge of the Rust Belt, and there is this kind of alienation malaise of just people just like Billy running around, and every single time I watch it, I get like different flashbacks. Sometimes he reminds me of the most popular guy in middle school, the guy with the mullet and the T-bird, the mustache, because he was like 20 and still in middle school for some reason.
Hey, I'm old enough to be a teacher, but I'm a middle school.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, but like that's the kind of person that it is. Like it is the meth head in front of you getting ice cream, but there's also like something so human about him, something so relatable. And if you've ever been in that kind of area of like the Rust Belt, you can connect to this film and like you wouldn't believe. And it just it's definitely like I have not watched this since probably since it came out because of Vincent Gallo. And I'm kind of glad I rewatched it because I really, I really appreciated it. I'd forgotten about everything, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous film. So definitely check it out if you haven't.
I was going to quickly say, like, it shows that vulnerability and that humans are inherently flawed, and sort of seeing how that evolves.
The naked goon from the Files of Police Squad.
Naked Goon 33.5, the final song.
Naked Goon, the smell of fear.
Conan.
Indeed. It's Top Goon, right? It's got to be Top Goon. It's not. It doesn't. I'm hanging up my spurs.
Yeah, you maxed out.
Yeah, look, this is an unconventional, absolute masterclass of mood, dream logic, and vibe. And at first glance, it centers one of the most unlikable protagonists in modern film history. But then you get the context, and eventually a road to redemption through a woman that he kidnaps. So that shouldn't work, but it does. And it is both eloquent and beautiful and thought-provoking. And it's also self-indulgent and ridiculously heartfelt and unique. It also has Heart of the Sunrise and Moonchild music placements in here are some of the best I can think of in recent decades. The usage of reversal film, as well as extra attention to lighting and blocking, gives it a very unique out-of-time feel. We mentioned looking like a painting oftentimes for stills. It's very crudely sophisticated, and it's also an inadvertent deconstruction of toxic masculinity. And whether that's intentional or not, it really works. And I think it's almost a side effect of the story being told. I've always dug this. I think it's a very unique and strange film, but I think I appreciate it even more now. And just as a shout out, worth a mention that Christina Ricci is just an all-timer, incandescent, stunningly beautiful in this, and that's worth noting as well.
Also,
he gooned the distance.
I was gonna say the goon, the bad, and the ugly.
Goon times at Ridgemont
13
High.
gooning on 30.
Christina Ricci in this. I mean,
it's over, Johnny.
Problematic wood. Two separate problematic woods for different reasons.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
What else do you need?